Guys, welcome to Podcast Fandom, the official podcast for ProjectFandom.com. I'm your host, Nina.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are back to discuss House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 7, Driftmark. Girl.
Yes.
We have so much to talk about because before we even talk about this week, we need to talk about the shit that people who always simply said was that maybe, just maybe, okay, let's be clear. We don't have a problem with time jumps. And I think that the conversation has gotten a little muddled because it seems to be people are complaining about the time jump. Now, I'm just going to say I've only seen one person, and that was today. So now 2 weeks later, in a thread on YouTube, maybe say that the show went downhill because there have been too many time jumps and they don't like the adult actors. Other than that, the complaints that I've seen, not about the time jump, but about the information that we missed because of the time jump. And everything I've seen has been pretty reasonable in saying that, hey, we get it. You guys want to get to the dragon killing. We understand. But wouldn't it have been nice if maybe we had 2 episodes where we got to know Harwin a little bit more and we could see the decision-making process that went into her having 3 bastards with a man who clearly wasn't black, and how this 15-year-old girl claimed a MIA biggest dragon in the world, like that type. I won't rehash, but yes, I think that's really reasonable. And it's not to say that you wouldn't have gotten last week's episode, you would have, and this episode you would have, but we would have also gotten that other stuff. And to me personally, I think it's a shame that people watched last week's episode and did not know who the fuck Harwin was.
Right.
That's a problem with your storytelling, if you ask me.
Yeah, so many people didn't know that he was even the same guy that had appeared previously. Right.
So many people didn't even get one of the first real times, people kind of paid attention to him was him kind of smirking when she came back from killing that boar. And it's just kind of wild to me that if you did understand who he was in those few scenes that we got of him, that's all you got. And you're supposed to care that he died, And maybe people listening are like, no, I don't think you're supposed to care that he died. Yeah, because look at what's happening. It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal that Daemon married one of the Valerians and she had this massive dragon, which is now in the hands. It's like giving your enemy a nuke.
Right.
And I feel like people who are unfamiliar with the book material would have appreciated seeing how we got to where we are fleshed out a bit more. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. And frankly, the people who disagree have typically been book readers who just want to get to the dragon killing, I guess. But y'all are being dicks about it.
Right. This isn't a mini series.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole series. We'll get there.
We'll get there. Just relax. It's just so people are just being dicks. And when people start being dick, then I start being a dick. And let me tell you, when I'm a dick, I lose friendships. Okay. Because I don't know how to act.
Including feelings.
Right? I'm just like, hey, fuck you, But yeah, it's been wild. So it's interesting that, there's some things that went down in this episode, kind of like the consequences and the repercussions of the shit that went down in the last episode. And we're about to jump into another time jump. I have another mini rant, which I'll save for later about book readers, but whatever.
What did I do?
No, not you. Although, you know when it was something really funny? What? And I know you already know this, but people listening at home, we have a Facebook group, right? Project Fandom Crew. You can podcast fandom crew, excuse me. You can join if you search for it on Facebook. You have to answer a couple of questions. We'll let you in. We have a lot of fun. And I don't fucking remember what the post was, but it was about this show. It was after. No. It was before. It was me. Oh my God. So you guys, some account that I follow on Twitter had tweeted photos from this episode before it aired. And I typically don't care about stuff like that. To me, it's just confirming things like, oh, Viserys is still alive. Oh, Lena grew up. I'm not, to me, that's not a spoiler. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I posted them because I looked at them and was like, basically the worst that you would get from looking at these photos before watching the episode is, again, that people are still alive. And oddly enough, Lena wasn't in the photo. So I got it into my head that the photos I was looking at was his funeral.
Right.
So I posted them and we're talking about him. We're cussing out Allison as we do in the group. Sorry, Devin. And I really looked at one of the pictures and I was like, is Allison pregnant? And then somebody in the group, I guess, spoiled me on something, which I won't say. And you were like, why am I even here? You're like, every goddamn week, I try my best to keep it unspoiled. You motherfuckers are just walking in here dropping bombs. I was like...
I didn't know we were just answering questions now because I could have been doing that this whole time.
I felt so bad. I was like, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's me. But wait, how about it took me halfway through watching this episode to be like, oh, that hoe ain't pregnant. I forgot to even look for it. I halfway through the episode, I actually leaned over to Donnie and I was like, by the way, does Allison look pregnant to you?
Right.
Because in the picture, she looked pregnant, but I don't think she looked pregnant in the episode.
No, it was just the cut of her dress and the fact that she had her hands up in front of her that.
Yeah, kind of resting on where her pregnant tummy would be, and it was just on the dress, and my brain went, yeah. So all that aside, Sarah, what did you think of this episode?
I thought it was great. I thought the whole episode was very Shakespearean. All of the fire scenes in particular, I thought the writing was just peak, that the lines were so rhythmic and beautiful. It just, every time you get in a little scenario, it just felt so beautiful, like they were all walking onto on a play on the theater and walking out, and then here comes another set. And the fact that this was the first scene, that all of them on the cliffside, the first scene that was ever filmed with the ensemble cast way back during COVID, is wild.
Yes.
Even, it's obvious because of the blocking. You can tell that everybody's separated into little groups, but it's so wild to see their chemistry coalescing right in front of your face.
Yes.
And the dragon flight was gorgeous and the music was so insanely good. And they're putting in so many lines and parallels and important things in this episode that are going to play out going forward, that I just, the crafting, I really admired what they're doing here. And on the other hand, I have a bone to pick with Miguel over his darkness filter. And I got such a headache trying to see it the first time, literally. And after this man pulled that on the long night and got so much kickback, the fact that he had the balls to go out in his final episode with a darkness filter and then basically throw up peace signs on the way out the door, the hubris.
And to leave us with a bunch of, and honestly, I'm sorry if you feel like this is like a man bashing podcast, but I don't know, maybe tell men to stop being so fucking awful. Because again, I don't see women doing this. It's men. Adjust your fucking settings. No, really? You don't fucking think that one of the first things people try is like to pick up their remotes and to assume that everybody else's TV is shitty and you're just sitting there with the best of the best and you're the only one who knows. Fuck you. Jesus Christ.
You don't own TV settings. I too can change the TV settings. What I want to do is see what I'm watching.
When I'm watching it. Yeah. Right.
In particular, something I've been dying to see, i.e. the sex scene, which, by the way, men should never be allowed to direct these ever again because he was in charge of this one and he couldn't hardly see shit.
Yeah.
And then they had to come back and like explain it. And we'll get into, why it was not as bad as I originally felt like. But, and also, P.S., for those who are saying that it should not be sexy because Damon and Rhaenyra are related, need I remind you that Damon and Lena were also related. All these motherfuckers are related.
Right. Okay? And also, like, yeah, and like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard because, again, you have got to take yourself out of reality, literally. Right. And you can't, like, we get it. It's gross that these motherfuckers are offering up their preteen and teenage daughters to be wed, to breed them like fucking horses. We get it. It's disgusting. But in this setting, it's the way things are, right?
It's like if we were watching The Tudors and every week we had to endure commentary on how gross it is that Henry VIII made himself the leader of the church or something.
Right.
Yes.
We get it. Yes.
Move on.
So, like, for them to be like, it shouldn't be sexy, it's like...
Yes, it should.
My brain, like, the fact that, like, this is something anybody would have to explain to another adult brain is crazy to me. But it's like, within the setting... These are two people who have been practically eye-fucking each other for 8 episodes. Like,
or decades.
Right. They have been, hinting and talking about how alike they are and the passion inside of them and blah, 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 blah. These are two people that clearly want to have sex. And these are two people who belong to a dynasty that this is just the way it is. Right. Why would they be in that cave half fucking, if you will? Like, why would they be in that cave, like, unsexily fucking? For you? Right. No, idiot. You're supposed to put yourself in the story. Ugh.
Get over it. And then, of course, the end with the surprise twist. It was a twist even for the book readers. And I love that they keep doing things like that where they surprise everybody. I mean, I gasped. I screamed.
That's cool.
It was so satisfying. And I love that they did that. It was brilliant. Also, it makes you feel
like, I'm sorry, really quickly, it makes you feel like they are taking a good ownership of the story.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I know George R. R. Martin is heavily involved, but it just feels like they're not afraid to do stuff like that. Because I know a lot of book purists, and for whatever reason, for several properties, they just feel like it should be exactly as it is. And this, I think, is so great, especially because we talked about the format of the book itself. At least that first volume is just like, diary entries and notes and stuff and almost like found footage type stuff that I like that some stuff is still ambiguous, but then some stuff they're like, nope, that was Damon. Nope. That's ambiguous, or that was Damon, but not really what you thought. Like, I like that. I like that they're doing that.
I completely agree. Yeah, I mean, in the book, this episode was 6 pages, so they need to put something like, and does it open up a lot of questions that a lot of people are debating over the week? It does. Does it open up a plot hole and a problem in the future? It does. So now I'm excited to see what are they going to do with it?
Right. And trust, if you have those questions, right, like the stuff people are debating, they had those questions when they were deciding what to do. You know what I mean? The writers are absolutely, so I'm sure, you know, they've thought of it, and there's an answer for it, for the plot holes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. So yeah, I loved it. I am so here for it. But as always, I got to warn you guys that I have like 2 rants coming because I have an issue. You're like, I love rants. But one of them is about the next time on, which, a reminder, if this is your first time here, Sarah has read the book. I have not. Although I think if you've watched Game of Thrones, you know how this all ends. If you've, what was her name? Shireen told us. We know how this all ends. But Sarah doesn't spoil stuff from the books. However, we both talk about the next time on scene, and, you know, we'll make speculations, stuff like that. And so they're talking about something happening. They're hinting at something happening that I'm not here for, and I'm going to lose my shit. So, and I hope I'm wrong. So I loved it, but you guys will get, I'm sure, much more of my long-winded thoughts as we talk about the scene. So let's do that. Also, really quickly, we are recording in a new way. We're using Zencaster instead of Skype, and so far so good. So yay, fingers crossed that this works. And 2, I ordered groceries a short time ago, and they'll arrive soon, if not already. I got to make sure my daughter remembers to check the front door. So you may hear them arrive. And because this isn't, I don't know how this is going to work. I'm going to download this file, and I suppose I'll just edit it like normal. So I'll try to keep notes of, like, you know, if there's like big distractions, like my dog losing his shit, which he'll probably do when that doorbell rings. I will do my best to edit them out, but if I can't, I'll do my best to make sure it's not so disruptive to you guys and your listening pleasure. So, let's see. Now let me just check really quickly to make sure my groceries aren't sitting outside. No, we're good. Okay. Okay, so Driftmark, the episode title, the episode is named after, this is the second time we've been to Driftmark, right, in the series.
Right.
Now we're here for Lena's homegoing. I thought this was, when I first saw the pictures, I thought, oh, this is her service, right? Mm-hmm. And again, that's why I posted them. I was like, oh, it's her funeral. We already know she's dead. Everybody's still alive. Okay. But then I didn't see Laenor. And so again, I was just like, oh shit, maybe this is Laenor's funeral, right?
And frankly, that was a great guess, because in the book, they don't have her funeral. It's all at his funeral.
Oh, okay. Because, okay, I'm sorry. I think I cut you off before, because in the book, he does die, but we don't know who did it, right? Is that like, and so it's like with Rhea. Was that her name? Rhea.
Well,
right?
they do it in this fight. I mean, he's dead in the book, unless they well, I've heard somebody say today that what if this is the book version is the sanitized version of what happened, and actually what happened is something like what we saw in the show, because in the book, Carl and Laenor get into a fight in the marketplace. So Carl runs him through, and so the speculation is, of course, as usual, that Daemon paid him to do it, because Daemon doing everything is the Jaqen Hagar of everybody's Benjen or everybody's Syrio Farrell, right?
Yeah.
So of this show, which is Game of Thrones reference, it's, you know, in the rare chance that you didn't watch that, and so somebody said, well, what if this is, you know, whoever wrote this chapter was Corlys's maester, you know, and so this is his sanitized version because he's so concerned with appearances or something.
Got it. Yeah, I like that. But no, this is Lena's homegoing. Vaemond, who is Corlys's brother, is eulogizing her as her stone coffin is being prepared to be dropped into the sea. And he's speaking in Valyrian, and he's basically a messy bitch. And he, through his eulogy, he is saying that, wait, what? I am so sorry. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry, my Instacart shopper had an issue. So he's basically saying that their blood is pure. He's speaking of Valerian blood and how their blood is pure and true and it must remain pure. And the whole time he's saying this, he's staring directly at Rhaenyra and her non-Valerian boys.
Yes. And I am so glad that you pointed out right away that it was Vaymond, because a lot of people were saying, like, oh, this was a priest or some rando. It's Vaymond. It's very important.
Yes,
it's
yeah.
Corlys's brother. And secondly, that he's speaking in High Valyrian, which means that half this crowd can't understand him. I think
exactly.
That we have closed captioning, we think everybody can understand it, right? But Alicent can't, and half her kids can't, and Otto can't. This is especially for the Valyrians here, so it's very pointed commentary.
And Daemon laughs once he picks up what Vaymond was putting down. He kind of gives a very doctor-like giggle. And
a lot of people thought that was like super disrespectful to Laena. I personally he's breaking up the tension.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Because if anybody has heard like a really awkward funeral speech and you're like, Jesus Christ, like, do we really have to say this kind of shit?
And also, he doesn't, like we talked about before, they're not religious the way, like Alicent maybe, right? And he's not about decorum anyway. This is very much like, to me, when he but when they came to get the egg back, when they came to Dragonstone, and Kristen Cole made that remark about knocking him off his horse, and Daemon was like, oh, I like that. Because I think at the end of the day, Daemon views it as, you can't beat me. I know who I am. So if you get in a jab and this shit is funny, I'm going to laugh at it, I don't think he was sitting there thinking this is disrespectful to Laena, or that it has any, that this has any, that is a reflection of how he felt or didn't feel about her. It just kind of felt like once he realized what this motherfucker was doing, he was like, oh, okay.
Exactly. I mean, he's passive aggressively speaking treason in front of the king, using this opportunity to spew his problems with Rhaenyra, and it's awkward,
So also doing this after she's after her coffin is dropped into the sea, Jace is basically like, all grief matters. Rhaenyra's like, go talk to your cousins. They lost their mom. He's like, I lost my dad. And ain't nobody holding my hand. We learned that Aegon is betrothed to Helena, which means that Alicent told Rhaenyra, fuck your offer, for real.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that it is wild that she betrothed her children, because, as we have repeatedly discussed, she is not down with the Targaryen stuff. She says that they have weird customs. Even Viserys is not really down with it. So the fact that she had her own children, and that she initiated it, because Viserys doesn't make any moves, and he wanted the original deal to go through because it made sense. So she made this move to lock her two oldest down so that Rhaenyra couldn't make that deal. And it is just, I think that this in itself shows that she has fully turned her kids into pawns
Mm-hmm.
game because she doesn't even care how they feel about it.
Nope.
And
And
she's been openly telling them they're going to usurp Rhaenyra.
yes. Now, I'm there are certain parts of this writing that to me it just feels really sloppy and I don't know if I believe it. And this is one of those things. Like I would understand if like I get that Viserys they set a pattern of him not liking confrontation. And we saw in the last episode basically she treats him like a child and he acts like a child and he allows it to happen, right?
Right.
But like how much power she has is wild to me.
Yeah.
It's
He's
just
let her run ragged.
yeah. And it's kind of crazy because the things that she's doing, and it's not like, you know, she's just sitting in on council meetings and maybe making decisions as, you know, whether or not they go stick their nose in Riverland business or whatever. But like she's doing things that, like you said, are openly in defiance of his succession and his wishes. And he knows this.
Right.
And so for me, it's like the fact that Kristen Cole is just still around and we still haven't had even a conversation. And I guess what we're just supposed to think is that his position is just, he's just allowed to do that he said something that Joffrey did something to deserve what he did. I don't know. But the fact that that's just never been discussed, I don't know how that doesn't bother some viewers. Like, it's just so wild. It just feels, because right now it feels like it's because he just needs to be in the story.
Right.
And knowing that this stuff didn't happen in the book, it's just wild that the writers decided to kind of take a shortcut there. And this is part of it, like the issue that I have. There's like a rant coming up later. But like, yeah. I don't understand how she's just like, getting away. And I guess, well, one of them I can talk about now because I've like bulleted notes of all the things that happen at this service. That we learned that Otto is back as the hand. And that just makes no sense to me. Like, of all the, like, Viserys, it really does make his firing him, like, not the power move that I thought it was. Like, the respect that I had for him for doing, because he was right. It's not like he fired him on some bullshit. He was right. You conspire against my heir. Your judgment, I can't trust your judgment. Why is he here? Right. It just feels like because he has to be here. But it just makes no sense that this was allowed to happen. And again, maybe if we had some more episodes, but to see the progression of this, but I just don't understand how he sees it. If this was the case, then have him be stupid and not see it. I could deal with that. Because then I'm just like, oh, well, you know, of course this is happening because he's feeble. And you know, but no, like he's aware. But I don't know.
Yeah. In the book, he goes through a deliberation, a short one. But it would be nice to have seen that so we could go, why? But I mean, yes, we get that he is anti-confrontation, but this is a huge error in judgment. Where originally he considers sending for Rhaenyra to be his hand because, of course, she's the next in line, and that's what he was for his father, and previously that guy was for the previous king, and on and that's what they do. And so, as he's nearing the end of his life, bringing her back would make sense, except that Alicent has made it so clear that she cannot live with Rhaenyra and that these kids are going to keep butting heads. She's been poisoning them. And so, against each other, not literally.
Right.
They are hideous. But, I mean, the older versions, not this. These guys are cute. But anyway, you know what I mean. And so he decides not to do that. And then he thinks, well, what about Daemon? Well, no, because then he was here Everybody will not get along with Damon. And then Melos is still alive, so he suggests some younger guys from
Mhm.
other houses that might be more of a neutral presence. And instead, it says, instead he settled for familiarity in the end. And calls Otto back, which literally ensures that the whole thing that he's been doing for 25 years is not going
Gonna
to
work.
work.
Yeah. And I feel like that's something they could have covered. That's all I'm saying. I feel like that's interesting to see. Y'all kept telling me nothing important happens. The architect of this downfall that's about to happen, I know y'all just want to get to the downfall. Y'all want to get to the war. I get it. But I'm just sitting here like, okay, well, don't expect, then stop questioning me when I'm questioning Rhaenyra,
Right.
or I'm questioning Viserys. It's like, maybe if we got into the character's thought process, and I have not read the book, we shouldn't have to run to go read the book after each episode, nor should we have to watch the after show stuff with the creators.
Right. Like,
You know?
is it good enough that we've endured so much conversation about how Rhaenyra is stupid and why Rhaenyra picked this big, strong brunette guy, or whatever. And then they have to come in and fill in the blanks later after everyone has already set in their mind that Rhaenyra is stupid for 3 episodes. So why would it not have been better to show her talking through this issue with Laenor as young people when they tried for a year and couldn't have a baby?
Because it really
Maybe
just, as it stands now, it just made it, because even in this episode later, she says that they tried, and it's like, okay, well, y'all could have showed us that, because right now they really had it looking like they never tried. He was just like, okay, well, I'm gay, so I'm going to go off and be gay. And she was like, all right, well, I'm going to fuck this guy for 10 years and have his babies and, fuck everybody if they try to question it. And it's like, I guess that's a way to ensure your claim.
That's not what happened.
Right. So when we learned that Aegon is marrying his sister, she is trapping a spider, or maybe several spiders, I don't remember, but she is repeating over and over again, the hand turns the loom, pool of green, pool of black, dragons of flesh, weaving dragons of thread. So she's like, you motherfuckers are going to kill all the dragons over this shit. She's trying to tell y'all. I feel like her and Viserys are the only 2 people who are like, what is wrong with y'all?
I know what happens. Yeah. And does Viserys even know she's a dreamer?
He don't talk to that girl.
I know, this is killing me. Like, he imagines that he's a dreamer. This has been his whole thing. And his daughter is genuinely a dreamer, and he doesn't even know because he doesn't talk to girls.
I feel like that would have been interesting to see too. Like, her growing up, and maybe her kind of saying something offhand to him in, as a young child. And then, and maybe something to do with him losing a fucking arm or something. Because since clearly this is something she could see. But you know what I mean? Like, I think that would have been interesting to have him, realize the possibility of that and how that might have, I don't know, look at me rewriting George's shit. But I don't know. I think that's interesting.
Even her little statement about, about the millipede, where she said it has eyes, but it can't see. Like, to me, she was talking about her father,
Yeah.
I don't know if people are looking for an interpretation of this, if they haven't figured it out, but the spools of green and black are obviously the sides, and they're weaving their banners for war. So,
and it's about to go down. And there's like a hard cut from her trapping this spider right to Larys. I was like, subtle.
Who's the spider? Yeah.
And it turns out he's been staring at Alicent all day.
He has no chill.
None. And so she tries to because I'm assuming she hasn't told Kristen what Laris did. She says here, he's just that's just confidence or pride or whatever, because now he is the Lord of Harrenhal. So this is to confirm for, in case people weren't sure, they're both dead, Lionel and Harwin. So yeah, I'm assuming this means, thank you, that she hasn't told Kristen what Laris did.
I assume, because when he first refers to, he doesn't say Laris, he says,
oh yeah,
Lionel Strong's son. So he's being a hater as usual. Like, another Strong moving in.
I hate this motherfucker.
Openly jealous. But at the same time, I'm like, does he not know how close they are? Because she's been eating like meals every day. Like, how did you miss that?
Yeah.
What's happening here? It was kind of a weird line, and I don't know how great that was, but it didn't really work for me. And the way that Laris is being,
he's just swinging back and forth. He can't contain his evilness. Right.
Such a bizarre choice, because the whole thing with Laris Strong is that he's incomprehensible.
But like, no, this guy might as well wear a sign that says "I'm plotting." Always plotting.
Thank God he doesn't have a mustache, because he would be twirling it.
Absolutely. It's like he can't keep still. He's so thrilled with himself.
Vibrating with evil.
Yes. So there's a really sweet moment where Bela takes Jace's hand. He goes to comfort her, doesn't know what to do. So she takes his hand. Lucerys, this is so sad. Lucerys is talking to his grandfather, Corlys.
Yeah.
And this is where we get our first kind of like, what the hell does Rhaenys and Corlys think about these white grandbabies? Like, what have how do they behave? What's going on? Well, we see here, and this is kind of foreshadowing what comes later, Corlys don't give a fuck. He just wants boys to take on the Valyrian name. That was his whole thing. He was like, he wanted to make sure the kids that came after the heir were named Valyrian, and one of them was going to get Driftmark, and that's all he cared about. He don't care that boy ain't his real grandson.
And it's true. Until Fire and Blood was written, they were just names on the timeline. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew all this stuff was going on.
So this kid breaks it down, and this is just like the tragedy, I think, of like the whole thing. And I feel there's another show we recently covered, oh my God, where it was, I'm drawing a blank. It's basically the same thing. It's like the children kind of paying the price, just passing down this hate and this generational trauma, and doing things because it was your parents' ambition. They put it into your head, all of that. He breaks it down when he pulls a Jon Snow. He's like, I don't want it. He's like, Luke, it's your birthright. And he goes, if I'm the Lord of Driftmark, then that means that everybody's dead. Yeah. And then you think about how fucked up it is that they're putting that in, that's all this has been. All of this talk about inheriting and taking on this stuff, it means that your parents are dead. And that nobody ever stops to think, well, maybe, we shouldn't be saying this shit. Yeah, they don't care.
Traumatizing.
Nope. Except this child, and this Corlys has to sit in it. And then, like, again, did that make a difference to him? Nope. Because later, it's like, nobody remembers blood. They only remember name. I'm like, okay, you learned nothing from what this child just said to you.
Yeah. Both of those boys' scenes were really sweet, and I loved Bela holding Jace's hand. To me, that kind of reminded me of the empathy that Lena has.
Mm-hmm.
She's an empathetic person, that she bonded with Vhagar over everything that she knew about her. and Bela has that same kind of inheritance of a spirit.
That would have been nice to see if they showed us how.
It would be nice.
So where were we?
We have to get on with killing people, right?
Rhaenys comforts her granddaughters. She's just drinking. And I love this because everybody's drinking, except Daemon. Daemon was kind of just leaning and watching, but like, I swear Rhaenyra cleared like 2 cups, like back to back.
Yes.
Aemon was about to be a human for like a second, and then he was like, nah.
He tried.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
He was like, oh, hey, I'm not supposed to like you. And I have to say, I'm so glad, and I think I said this in the group, I'm so glad that they are aging these kids up next episode, because I like this actor too much. He's adorable. And I don't want to empathize with him anymore.
Yeah, like I saw on Twitter these kind of behind the scenes of the kids filming this stuff, and like the actor who plays Luke Lucerys dancing with the actor who plays Corlys, and then like the boys kind of before they Aemon and Luke have their big moment, I guess they had to run before they started shooting, run in place to get like they were breathing heavy. And they go from being so goofy to like going right into their scenes. And I was like, oh, these kids. It sucks
So
that,
impressive. Yeah.
I'm curious to see how Rhaenyra's boys are, though, as adults or young adults. I don't know how far we're going in the future, but and how is Viserys still alive? Jesus Christ. That just hit me. I knew we were getting a time jump, but I also know that he's still not dead. And I'm like, how much fucking what's in the ginger ale that Black Maester's giving?
Right. I know. When I was reading the pages for this episode in the book, and it says like, and then he lived 9 more years. I mean, obviously in the book you can't see what they look like. But now that we know Viserys, I was like, what?
How?
The book.
Jesus Christ. Like, I thought he was going to die in, like, every episode. I feel like we've been saying this since, like, episode 3. Like, I thought he was going to die in this episode. I thought he was going to die.
He's really going to die soon. I promise everybody.
No, which sucks because I love the actor.
I know, me too.
You know, he's having his, like, Sean Bean kind of moment. Except we know his end is coming, you know. He gets the most of the first season, and then that's it. And you know, it's great though, because I feel like obviously this is the type of character, and he's given us enough that we'll be talking about him next season. The season after. Yeah. So Laenor is grieving out in the ocean, which causes Corlys to snap at Carl and tell him to go retrieve his patron. And this causes Vaemond to kind of grip up his brother, like, not in front of these white folks. What you doing?
You're too loud.
Yeah. And then
it was so awkward that he made such a point of it. Because yes, like, Laenor was being pretty dramatic, but like, this is, you know, and I get it. Like, it's toxic masculinity. Right?
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, he doesn't want him showing all this kind of emotion and being lost in it and out in the ocean and drinking and whatever. But by enforcing that, by Corlys freaking out and shouting and grabbing Carl, now it's like even more.
It's worse.
Obvious. Everyone, because before people were just like, "Oh, there he's down. He's upset," you know. And now everybody's like, "Oh, what's up?"
It's like, dude, you're worried about appearances. Like, the king and his daughter just be fighting in front of motherfuckers, like yelling at each other. I will never forget Aegon's second birthday.
Do you know what they said? Yeah.
They're so messy. Like, your son is grieving in the ocean. His only sibling is dead. Fucking relax, Corlys. Otto pays his... Oh, I'm sorry. But before that, it's starting to get a little dark. The dragons are chilling. We didn't talk about that. Oh,
yeah.
And one thing I want to say, like all this stuff I'm saying, it's happening in like beats, right? It's not like necessarily one thing after the other. And it reminded me the area that they're in, this little patio, and it's round, and it just kind of felt almost like so I thought it was interesting when you said it was like a stage play, but it reminded me of like a carousel or like a music box where it was just rotating, and the music was so good. In particular, one scene where like it was literally just Damon looks at this person, then that person looks at the queen, and then the queen looks at
Yes.
it. Just reminded of all the relationships, all the betrayals, all the things that have been said, and it's like my stomach hurts. This is so tense. Yeah.
And just before, just in case anybody wonders which ones of the dragons are where. So when we opened on this cliffside and we had like the dragons above everybody, to me, I looked at that scene like probably 50 times, and I think. And there's some debate, but the one up in the air, I think that's Laenor's sea smoke. The one that's like way up that you can't really see because it looks kind of bluish. And then Cyrax flies in from the front, and that's Rhaenyra's, of course. We haven't seen her in a while. And then Sunfire, who is Aegon's dragon, that's the one on the right because she's a little bit smaller, or he. And then Dreamfire, which we saw when Aemond went down, that one is in the middle. And then Caraxes with his noodly body flies up from the back.
Yes, that's...
And we still don't see Melis, which is Rhaenys' dragon, but Devin said she's probably in the garage because this is her house.
Yeah.
And of course Vhagar is out, but you hear her at this moment.
Yes.
Right. When everybody, like when we flash back to this scene that we're talking about right now, you hear her every once in a while crying.
Yes.
In the background.
Yes. And there was like one scene in particular that, and because they kept doing it, right? They kept having either Damon look up at the sky or one of the kids, or the camera itself would just go up there. And again, like you said, you could hear her crying. And there was this one shot, it kind of reminded me of Nope, which I won't spoil for those who haven't seen it, but just like of looking up in the sky and knowing something is there and see a shadow. And to the point where you're like, did I see something move? I don't know. Was it the, excuse me, all you see is cloud. Was it the cloud? I don't know. Is it something above the cloud? Like that, but knowing that that's going on and nobody below cares because it's a bunch of fucking Valerians and Targaryens and those are their dragons. Like stuff like that. I love that we didn't get to see in Game of Thrones, like hearing about Targaryens and like what it must have been like to live in a world with dragons. Well, when these motherfuckers get together, they're just dragons hanging around.
Right. And except no one notices except Aemond. Every time she cries, he looks. Because this is something that he's like, we'll get there, but I feel like she has been like calling to him.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like in himself, he has always sensed that he like should be bound to something older and bigger. And like these dragons, even though at that time she belonged to somebody else, like these dragons, they never, like the bond is never fully broken from their past. And then they're always belong to someone else in the future. So, it's like already in their blood, like who they're going to be with. Does that make sense? For me, that's what I think.
Oh, okay. See, I took it as... Because I feel like...
Really scheming.
I just feel like he has been bullied about not having a dragon because kids are terrible. Yeah. And their identity is, it's like we're getting to see through him and through Raina, but like really through him because he feels so entitled to it. And I think he's really surrounded by it more than because like Bela's not cruel to Raina about not having a dragon, but we've seen the people around Aemon be cruel. So, and I guess it's like when you look at somebody like Daemon, who again, like he's really about that Targaryen life. If you think, okay, well, what would it be like to be that way, to feel that way, and not have the one thing that defines you as a Targaryen? You know what I mean? To everybody else. So I get his desperation, but I didn't take it as like a call because I felt like there was like this is when I think I realized that it was Vhagar that I was hearing. There was a time when she cried and like Daemon looked up.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that I felt like it was a particular a call to him, but I do remember him, and this is the scene I think after Otto grips up Aegon. Take your ass to bed.
Right.
I think it was right after that is you hear her again and Aemon looks up and I was thinking, okay, this is where he gets the idea, I guess. So like, I'm gonna go try for her. But I didn't take it as like a connection the way you did, which is sweet and all. But again, I will tell you this, and we'll talk more about him claiming her later. I will tell you this. This is again where people say, oh, it wasn't important.
Right.
We don't know a lot about the bonding. And here is a show that, and I'm sure maybe next season we'll get to see all these kids that are, about to grow up, their kids getting dragons or whatever. But like they had an opportunity to show us how that works exactly. Like, the baby is born and while it's in the womb, you have like this egg in the cradle. Bela, I'm thinking, is an example, like when she says her dragon was born to her of, that happening, from the cradle. They've just been, this is my dragon, right? But again, the story of Vhagar and then this 15-year-old girl claiming her, I think would it would help me better understand what happened between Vhagar and Aemon, if that makes sense. So I know, is this special or not? Is this all like, and we'll get there because we will talk about this scene in depth. Okay.
Well,
so
maybe I overstated my point with like, I don't know that they're like necessarily like destiny would be too much. It's more like an affinity, like he hears the call and he knows deep within himself that he could bond with that, and that they're like out there for each other.
I just feel like, I don't know. We'll talk about it when we get there. Yeah. I had a joke in me about Vhagar. We'll get there. Viserys goes to his brother and he's like, when he's like, your daughters look like their mom and they have all her beauty and grace and that's a blessing and a curse. I know. And he's like, all this like stupid dad small talk.
Right.
And he's like, the gods are cruel. And Daemon was like, you look like shit. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Daemon.
What he actually said was, they look like the gods have been particularly cruel to you. But what I heard was, you look like shit. Where's your arm?
You would know, Viserys. Yeah.
Oh my God, Daemon. But Daemon does not want to come back to King's Landing. He says Pentos is his home and that of his children. And when asked if he needs anything, or he tells him, I need nothing. And then stomps off like a child.
He does. But see, I think this is interesting. This exchange is so the words are not here, but like indicative of their relationship, because Viserys once again goes to Daemon and is like, I will basically give you anything you want. If you want to come back, if you need to come back to court, I will make a position for you. Just come home. We can be buddies. That's the opposite of what Damon wants to hear, because Damon has been sitting here dying for someone, Viserys originally, now Rhaenyra, to need him.
Mm-hmm.
He wants them to need him. He doesn't want them to play with him or say, what do you want? I'll give it to you. He wants to give them some. He wants to serve. He wants Dohaeris. You know, he wants to be there for them. And they don't. Viserys doesn't get that. And then when he says, what do you want? What do you want? What do you need? And Damon goes, I need it. Like, if you look at his lips, he starts to say Rhaenyra. And then he tells himself, yes, I watched that so many times.
I thought that was a growl. I thought that was a growl, like he's offended, like how he was when he got the letter.
He's going to say Rhaenyra.
And then that's so gross.
Yes.
I don't know why that bothers me. It does.
That's what he said the last time they talked.
Yeah. By the way, can we talk about how it's like all the other shit never happens? He's like, come home, brother. I'm like, what?
Right. That's how Viserys always is. Yeah.
I'm like, I am pretty sure the last time y'all spoke, you were banishing him again.
Come get rebanished. Please. I've been dying to banish somebody and I've run out of people.
Otto tries to pay his condolences to Damon. Damon's like, fuck off.
and as do we all say that.
Yeah.
Like, was he really paying his condolences?
He actually said something like, no matter how much the leak sucks up a meal, he still looks for something else or something like that. But what I heard was fuck off. Fuck off, Otto. When Rhaenyra sees Damon going off to pout or whatever, she tells her boys, go to bed. It's time to get laid. The king...
This whole time she's been stalking him.
Yes.
It has not approached him until everybody starts going to bed.
The king is going to go to bed. He calls the queen Emma. It's like, good night, Emma. And then Westerling tries to like clean it up. He's like, shall I stay with Queen Alicent?
Right, because the whole crowd is like,
and he's like, no, Sir Harold.
Which I also thought was like, oh.
Right? I was like, Jesus Christ. He was like, good night, Emma. Fuck you, Alicent. That's what I heard.
It seemed like that.
He was like, good night, my sweet, wonderful wife. There'll never be another like you. That other girl. Yeah, right? That's what I heard.
And then Harold puts Kristen
in charge of the Night's Watch. Right. I mean, not the Night's Watch, the wall. Right.
Which I thought was so funny.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Say what you said. I think I cut you off.
Oh, I was just saying, he put him on the night watch after he's been up all day along with everybody else because fuck Kristen.
Yes, absolutely. He can't. Anyway. So yeah, he puts him on the night's watch, meaning you're in charge of night duty, and he leaves. It's getting darker now. This whole time, there was like a moment like where you hear Vhagar crying, and there's this shot of the sky and like the top of the castle, and you hear wings, and it starts to get dark. And I was like, is that Vhagar blocking out the sun? It's like, I legit thought that homegirl went up there and just blocked out the entire fucking sun. But no, it was actually getting dark. Otto grips up drunk Aegon, sends him to bed. Laenor stumbles off. It's a mess. Inside, Rhaenys and Corlys. So she's looking for somebody to blame, right? First she blames Daemon for her daughter's death, which I get. And then she blames the Maesters of Pinto. She's like, they suck. And Corlys is like, I don't know. Like, this was so, I don't know how I wanted him to be, because I'm assuming like they've had some time to adjust to the news of her death. Because like I feel like it would take a minute to sail from Pentos, right?
Right.
But it just, I don't know. It feels like he was okay. Well, let's move on. Like what's on the agenda to talk about tonight? I don't know. It just felt like him being like, I don't know. I think I wanted him to grieve just a bit more.
Yeah. He's being very practical.
Yes.
Like, while it may be true, of course, and we, knowing the book scenario in which, she had a dragon baby and all that kind of stuff, like, there's nothing that maesters would be able to do that the surgeons couldn't do. And he's not wrong in that.
Right.
But, like, just let her work through it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. She tells him he needs to get over the fact that she wasn't queen. She says she's kind of made her peace with it. And, of course he flips it like, is it so wrong for a husband to want to? It's like, motherfucker, what did she just tell you?
Out. Yes.
What did she just tell you? Yes, it is so wrong. Yes.
Right. She's been telling you stop.
The fuck? And then they talk about it plainly. She's like, those boys are not laners. They are not of your blood, but Laena's children are. She wants him to give her, Bela, Driftmark, to make her the heir to Driftmark. And he responds, would you have me, what does he say, like cast a darker shadow over those boys than already, because, he would be disinheriting Lucerys.
Yeah.
For that to happen.
Would be awkward.
Yeah.
It would, and especially given, sure, he's given lip service to the fact that Rhaenys should be queen and should have been queen all that time. That doesn't mean that he's going to take Patriarchy Island and give it to Bela.
Exactly.
Sorry.
So, yeah, this motherfucker. And I was about to say something that's so wrong because I've been watching this show too long. 7 weeks has felt like a lifetime. I've just married him, kids, because that seems to be there.
Yes, that would have been the solution.
Right? Just be like, okay, marry Bela to Lucerys.
And there we go. Now it's all locked up.
Yeah.
She's in her cups, so.
Yeah. He's like, no, fuck blood. Everybody remembers the names, which again, this man has shown us who he is. This is now the second thing that is, the way he talked to his grandson earlier and then his conversation with the king before. I knew he was not going to go for this. Rhaenyra and Daemon on the beach. Okay. That's him. I still don't know what this sex scene looked like. I'm just let y'all know. I can never put my TV to a point where I can tell you if this was sexy or not. So if y'all are telling me it was sexy, you know what? I bet you if I took my ass to YouTube, somebody got lightened.
Oh, yeah.
House of Dragons.
I did see it. Many times.
Okay. I don't know if it was sexy or not. I'm going to take your word for it. But also, not gonna lie, I was mad. But we'll get there. So she's walking on the beach with Daemon, and she talks about how she and Laenor did try, but there was no pleasure in it. She found that elsewhere. She asked if he was happy, or no, if he loved his wife, Laena, and he says he was happy enough. And she was like, well, wow, at least you got that. Because she's like, you had happiness. And he tells her, but at least, I can mourn my losses. Like, she can't openly mourn Harlan.
Right.
And the, happiness or what she could find with him. She accuses him of leaving her. He's like, girl, you was a child.
Right.
I was like, listen to you, Sir Morals, all of a sudden. It's like, where'd that come from?
Right. Oh, is
Um,
that the story you came up with in the last 10 years? Yeah.
um, and then she's like, please, let's have sex because I'm not a child anymore. And I'm going to let you talk about the sexy stuff, but I just need to say, this just really pissed me off because sis, you, everybody is here. Everybody is here.
Yeah.
Your in-laws, your daddy, the queen who hates you, all her usurper children, 15 fucking dragons, the king's guard, the queen's guard. Everybody is here. What is you doing, sis? And because of this universe, the whole time, y'all was getting your little TV rocks off. My stomach was in knots because I was like, somebody's going to see, somebody's going to see. I was like, this bitch cannot just stake her, like, sure up her claim to save her life. She just can't do it. She's just,
Right.
Otto is there. What are you doing, sis? And I just don't, I don't know how Rhaenyra is in the book, but right now, I'm honestly more team not Allison. If she's for it, I'm against it. You know, she's against it. That's what I want. So it's like, I don't care about Rhaenyra sometimes. And this like decision, like I like the play later, but I was just like, this is just sloppy. And I just want her to stop being sloppy. That's all.
Right.
Okay, go ahead. You can talk about the sexy stuff. Yeah.
Yes. No, the first time I saw it, I was in the same state. I was so nervous and just ill that somebody was going to see. I don't know. You know, I didn't know where they were in relation to the castle and if they were really checking.
And then they cut to Aemon at one point. Like, remember?
Yes. Like, did he see them?
Like, I was like, what is he looking at? And it was all dark, so I couldn't see shit. So I was
of course, you don't know what you're seeing because of the horrible filter. But yes. So once afterwards, you know, and then the many times that I rewatched it, then it was fine. But I liked, you know, I liked the changing realization. There was a lot of so what people were pointing out was that it wasn't passionate. And I agree that it was not like the explosion that we were kind of waiting for, but what it was very deliberate. And he's so restrained because he decided he wasn't going to make that move, that he wants to be needed. And so he's waiting to see where she's coming from. So she has to be the aggressor. And as soon as she says, I want you, his face completely changes and he questions her and he makes her make all the moves, you know, and then everything is very, once they move, I figured out that it was it's a shipwreck. And so
okay.
they move to there because you can see the pieces, the planks on the beach. Them. At first I thought it was like palm leaves or whatever because I couldn't see shit.
So you're just staring at it. You're like, is it a boat? Is it a...
My eyes hurt so bad. So, yes, it's a shipwreck. So they move under there, and then it becomes more equal. And it's just very deliberate. It's not fucking, you know. It's making love. It's this sacred coming together of this thing that they've been moving towards their whole lives, or at least her whole life. And you know, and yeah, like no, they don't get completely undressed because fucking sand gets everywhere. Allegedly, that's what I hear. And so that's like, I wish that there was maybe a little more from her, but I do feel that there's like, this is a culmination of something that they've been going toward, and from this point, everything begins for that side. And you do get to at least enjoy, you know, like look at all the like horrible scarring. Like now we get like the full close-up look at the, you know, mess that those fire arrows did. to his.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get to see any of that shit.
Yeah,
you got to see.
Gotta look up the gifts. Yeah.
You got to see facial expressions and scars.
Oh my god! Yeah, and she's like moving its little hair out of the way. It's like really caring and sweet.
I will tell you that I could tell that it was that. Obviously from the sounds.
Right. Yes, the sound. I saw a video where somebody turned down the music and turned up the sounds. It's completely different.
You find the funniest corners of the internet.
It's my fanfic. It's my fanfic, girls.
It's like, who does that? Who thinks to be like, you know what? I don't want to hear the music. I want to hear the fucking. I want to hear the actual fucking. Please. Who are you people?
I'm going to find this video and post it in the group.
Please, thank you. And tag me. I just have to know.
Right. Oh, but before we move on, so one note I want to make as we're between this and Amond is something that I did not ever bring up from my previous notes was that one could look at Damon as, and really any dragon rider they're interchangeably referred to as dragons, right? Because they are the rider, but they're also the dragon. And something that I began to kind of see is whenever Damon is home, right? Viserys is more himself. Every time Damon comes home, Viserys becomes alive. He makes moves.
He doesn't look like
busted.
Yeah, like when I'm so glad you said that because it reminded me. Oh, I'm so glad you said this because when he came up to him to start with your daughters or like that whole thing, it reminded me of when he was talking to him and she's like, would you like to see the tapestries? He's like, oh, it's no fucking tapestries. No, my brother ain't come here to see no fucking tapestry. Like, you know what I mean? Like he totally changes and he seems younger. And I remember there's when they're talking, there's a shot. So they exchange a few lines and then I don't remember if it's Rhaenyra is watching them. So we see them from her point of view. And I remember thinking, he's always like that with Damon. Like he's so relaxed and like he was kind of standing differently. And anyway, so yeah, I've noticed that. Okay, go ahead.
That episode was the last time Viserys was truly himself. And so it's like Damon at that time was his dragon. And then he moves on to Rhaenyra and he's like Vhagar, right? These scenes are parallel. Where he's waiting for somebody to claim him and put him to use.
And
she does.
She put that dragon on him and then...
Yes. And then he starts making moves for her.
Yes. Like the first thing he did was kill a black man. I hate it. I hate it. But I get your point. I get it. I feel you. I get it.
But yeah.
I get it. I get what you're putting down. I like it. So yeah, Aemon claims Vhagar. I don't even really want to talk about this. I'm so annoyed. But I will say, this motherfucker, she is huge.
Oh my God.
2, when I like the fact that she was like, this is the second time she's been asleep on the beach. And one of these fucking Targaryen just comes and starts fucking like, what? What do you mean, Dracarys? I'm trying to sleep. Like, what the fuck?
Yes.
But I love how he literally touched her before she knew he was there. Yeah. Which there was like a moment where I was like, that's silly. Dragon has shitty, reflexes or whatever. But then also she's the biggest dragon in the world. It don't matter. If you get that close to her, you're dead. She don't need to listen out. Once she knows you're there, it's over. It doesn't matter. Right. But I did like that. The fact that it wasn't until he touched her. And then like, even through my dark fucking screen, I could see her eyelids open and then her eye turned. And that was amazing. I love that.
That's always the moment,
Yeah.
that you're always waiting for in every dragon movie is the moment that the dragon opens their eyes
Yes.
and focuses on you.
Yes. And it's interesting that, she was like, what do we have here? And he's backing up because it's Vagar. And once you can tell she registers him as a Targaryen, much like Jon Snow with Drogon,
Right.
she's like, I'm going back to sleep.
She's like, all right.
She's like, it's just one of these wayward Targaryens fucking kids. Go to bed, kid. I got time for you. I'm going back to sleep. I love that. And then he tries again, and she's like, all right, look, I'll light your ass up, Targaryen or not.
Right. Don't touch that fucking ladder. Yeah.
And then he gives her the command, and she chooses. See, this is where it's interesting because your take on it. Because to me, it feels like the way I imagine it with my limited dragon knowledge. Like they choose whether or not they're going to obey. And it's whatever it is in the person, the Targaryen or Valyrian trying to claim them. Like the dragon decides, okay, I will, like in my mind, it's like they control like where it says like, well, they won't take a command from anyone but you, but the dragon still has the power. And what scares me though, is that in my thinking, what scares me though, is that like, I feel like Aemon's a fucking psychopath. It's like Vagar seeing this motherfucker that she also saw in Lena, that she also saw in whichever one of the sisters. Like, I don't know what that says about the person. And to me, that's the interesting stuff where I feel like I would have loved a show set in old Valyria. Like, because this dragon lore shit to me is super interesting.
Yes. Yeah. And there's been a lot of discussion about, why would Vagar pick this? As some people have pointed out that she would have been more appropriate with Rhaena, the daughter, because Vagar has always belonged to someone with at least partial Valyrian roots, but I don't like Valerian roots. But that doesn't work for me because all these people have at least partial Valerian roots.
Right.
Aegon and his two sisters, which everyone comes from this crew, were half Valerian. So they're all Valerian in some way. So that doesn't work. But, and if you think of them kind of... you could also think of them kind of like cats. Cats don't really belong to anyone. They belong to themselves.
Exactly.
And they choose to live with you or maybe not. And you may have like a more affinity with one of them, but do you ever truly master them? The fact is that they master you in some way. And that, like, don't forget that originally this was Visenia's dragon, and unlike the nice sister, Rhaenys, or Rhaena. Sorry, it's
Visenya and
Rhaena.
No, this is George R.R. Martin's fault.
Oh my God, my where are we in the Rhaenys? It is Rhaenys. Yes. So anyway, unlike her, that was the nice sister who still did some atrocities. Visenya did all the atrocities, okay? Not only she the not nice sister, but she also used Vagar to keep Maegor the Cruel on the throne. So Lena was like a little Caribbean vacation for, like somebody who's like nice and empathetic for her, and they like chilled for like 10 years after she'd been alone all that time. And she did allow Viserys's father to ride her, but also remember that he was only prince for a very short time. So like he was king for 5 days, so like he didn't you know, that was a very short relationship. So I don't really think that counts. So she's used to psychopaths. This is who Vagar likes, who she prefers.
Wait. Viserys' father was king for 5 days?
No, he was the crown prince. Sorry. So
okay.
Yeah, like he was the like crown prince for like 5 days,
okay.
and then like it didn't work. So he died, remember, of appendicitis. So she's used to being with psychopaths, and one of the reason that, remember, they were all put in the dragon pit is to keep children from acquiring the psychopath dragon. Because children can't fully master a dragon of this size. You're getting freaking psychopath backwash into, you know, the connection here. Like, he comes off like full psycho. Before, he was trying to smile at Jace, and he comes off like Billy the Kid.
I feel like
that's not all Aemond.
See, I feel like that makes more sense. I feel like that makes more sense to me. I feel like he was just like, you know what? I'm a kid that needs a psychopath dragon. Like, this is my chance. He's like, I'm not going to get one from the dragon pit. Like, here we are. This was made for me. Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah, she takes him for a ride. It's sloppy at first. I was like, drop his ass. But she didn't. And yeah, she did. She really did. The girl did her best. And they have this really terrible landing, which oddly enough is happening on my screen right now. And I don't know if she landed like that because she's just old, or is like she's trying to teach him a lesson, or if it's because her writer is new. I don't know, but that landing was rough.
I think first of all, I think she's just kind of like, fuck your little castles.
Yeah,
but,
that's true.
You know, but also, they do say that the dragons hit kind of a maximum size. Like, the reason that they die is because their legs just collapse out from under them because they can't
withstand. Okay.
Yeah, so this kind of is a thing that they do.
So when he had taken Vagar, Bela, I think it's Bela, she wakes up Jace to say that Vagar's been stolen. And right when he's like, what? And he like throws the sheets back. I looked at Donnie and I was like, why'd she go to a child? But then the very next scene is like post-coitus Rhaenyra and Daemon. I'm like, oh, because the adults are fucking, never mind.
Right.
Okay. So we had a little bit of technical difficulty. What's the last thing you heard me say that like you wanted to jump in on? Because I think like you could hear me, but I couldn't hear you, and it was a mess.
Right. First, I just wanted to say before we moved past it that I loved when Rhaenyra and Daemon were on the beach, and he's already watching very seriously that he knows that Vagar has to be rider. And Rhaenyra just says, who is it? You know, to me, it seems like they're just, like, they have to know it's not the girls.
Right.
And whoever it is going to be a real kicker.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
It's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was saying how Bela woke up the kids, and she woke up Jace, and I looked at Donnie and I was like, why is she going to the child? And that's when they cut to Rhaenyra waking up. And I was like, oh, right, because the adults are fucking. So this is why. Yeah. So when they confront him and he says, I claimed her, and she says she was mine to claim. And she goes, you should have claimed her. That was interesting to me because, again, I wondered, you know, would she have claimed her?
Yeah.
You know, like understandably, she was still mourning her mother.
Right.
Understandably, maybe she wanted to take some time before claiming her. Understandably, she didn't think that somebody would have the fucking audacity to claim her at her mother's funeral and her mother ancestral home. You know what I mean? Like, But I'm curious if she had, say, the next day decided, I'm going to try to claim Vagar today, would Vagar have let her? Because that's how I see it. I always feel like it's up to the dragon.
Yeah, I mean,
would Vagar have been like, I don't know, kid.
right? Like, does she have the kind of moxie that Vagar is looking for? I don't know.
He calls the boys bastards. This is now the first time Lucerys has even. What are you talking about? My dad's still alive. He's like, no, he's not.
Yeah, Luke doesn't know.
Yeah, Lord Strong. So there's lots of hitting. Baela gets in a nice shot. Aemon gets in a lot of nice shots. They start whipping on his ass. I can't believe y'all have me rooting for children beating the shit out of other children.
But it was so good.
But here we are. Because I was like, whip his ass. And he was like, and this is where, like, I know, like, I keep saying, well, they're children. They're children. But there was, like, a level, like, he was trying to kill those kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she was like, you basically just called me a pig, so I'm going to push you. And then he went straight into, I will feed you to my dragon. You're a bastard. You're going to die screaming in flames like your father did, to picking up rocks and choking them and wanting to, like, bash people's heads in. To the point where when he picked up, I think he had Lucerys, right, by the throat.
Yeah.
And he looks at them. You see, I think it's Rhaena, like, shake her head, like, no, like, don't do it. Like, what do you, like, it was kids being fucking kids for them, but he was being a murderous little shit.
Right. He was gonna kill Luke.
And I just hate that literally, well, no, it did. One of the little girls, you hear her say it. One of the kids say it. When the kids are all, like, shouting stuff.
Right.
Like, I don't know if they realize how serious that was.
Right.
Not to, you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah. And the fact that I was just so blown away when he says you're going to die screaming in flames like your father did. Like, what are they talking about at King's Landing? Who fucking said that? Because that was a leap. Like, it's one thing to be like, you little bastards. But to be like, ha ha, Harwin Strong died screaming in flames? What?
You know who that came from.
I do, but like,
dang, nobody but Kristen.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I was Kristen talking to their mama.
Well, yeah, and I mean later, obviously we'll get there, but Alicent does say, "Oh, it's just training ground talk." Oh, interesting choice of words.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because then who do we blame for this conversation? Fucking Kristen.
Now, I do find it interesting that... Oh, wait, I'll save it because I do have it in my notes later. Yeah. So, yeah, we get some pocket sand, and then Jace takes that eye.
Luke.
Wait, Luke did it?
Luke did it. Jace was on the ground, and he threw the sand.
Wait. The baby did it?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Jace pulled out the knife. And Aemond knocked it out of his hand. And he picked up the stone again, and he was going to beat Jace down into the ground. Jace threw the sand, and meanwhile, Luke is crawling over the top of his head and grabs the knife.
The knife that he dropped. Okay. See, that makes sense because later, when the queen is like, bring me the eye of Lucerys, I was like,
why him?
Yeah. I thought she was like youngest son for youngest son because she was being, you know, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yep.
Listen, those two little boys look alike.
They do.
They're real life brothers.
Harwin makes the same kid 3 times.
Yes. Just copy paste. So now, okay, all hell breaks loose, right? First question is, who had the watch? I was like, Kristen had the watch.
And does he, Mr. Honor and Decency, admit this? No. He blames the bastard boys first.
First, he was like,
Sir, you're a
they
grown
were
man.
attacked by their cousins, their own cousins. Basically, like, how could we have foreseen, you know? And
Right.
then the second thing, he was like, you know, we're not, basically, like, nobody expects princes to attack princes. And Viserys is like, that's not an answer. But here's
He's
the
also
thing.
100% wrong.
But here, she's like, motherfucker, are you new to Westeros?
Have you read the history books, Kristen? No, because you can't read. That happens all the time.
Have you read A Song of Ice and Fire, Kristen?
Have you heard of Maegor? Just wondering.
But wait a second. Viserys does not circle back to this.
No, he doesn't.
And I'm just trying to figure out, again, this is one of those things I feel like things are happening that are fantastic and great, and I get it. And the book readers are like, oh my God, yes, we finally get this scene, I suppose. But I'm like, there was so much treason going on in this room.
Treason. So much.
There was so much treason, and like it wasn't treason, and so we'll get there. But like this, I was like, this is a big fucking deal, because if you say you were sworn to protect my blood, and now my blood lost an eye, the motherfucker in charge is losing something, his job at least. So
Right.
I don't understand how we moved beyond who allowed this to happen. Now, because on the surface, what happened is kids being kids and going too far. And that's why we don't let kids have knives and driver's licenses. And, you know, we don't let them, you know, practice.
To be fair, or dragons. You know?
Right. But like on the surface, you feel like when you get to the bottom of what happened, you're not thinking Luke went to kill Aemon. You're going to think there were kids, they were fighting, and they got way out of hand. Right. So to me, that's like the subplot. We should have never left. How the fuck did this happen? Where the fuck was everybody? Where the fuck was you? Where the fuck was you? Like, there was no adult accountability at all. But I get it. We want to shift to what happened. So we learn very quickly the eye is gone. Yeah. The maester's like, we can't save that. And the first thing Alicent does, she goes slaps the shit out of Aegon. Which I approve, because that kid is weird. She should have gave him when she caught him wanking off in the fucking window, but priorities, I guess. He didn't do nothing wrong this time, and he gets slapped.
I feel like Alicent has a favorite child, and it's whoever isn't Aegon.
Yes. She's breeding Helena to Aegon. Jesus Christ. Corlys and Rhaenys show up. I know what the fuck is going on in my house. He's like, Corlys is like, I'm gonna stop inviting you motherfuckers over.
Right.
Y'all know how to
keep waking us up.
Then Rhaenyra comes in with Daemon right behind him. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ.
They did come in through different doors, though, I think.
Okay. But still.
I know.
There's no adult accountability here. All the kids start yelling. And I love the way this is shot, because I could see this scene, by the way. When the kids are trying to like all get their stories in, and right when I think it's Jace is about to say he called us, is when Viserys is like, everybody shut the fuck up.
Yes.
So everybody shut the fuck up. But, you know, kids got to get the last word. And he's like, he called us bastards. And I was like, yes, little homie, snitch.
Right.
And when she heard that, I was like, oh.
Yep.
And at first I really thought we weren't going to get what I needed her to do. But so Viserys asks Aemon what happened. And then Rhaenyra just says it plain. He called my kids Beth. That was an insult. What insult? And she says it plain. He called them bastards. Paternity, my son's paternity was put into question. And this little motherfucker smirked.
He did.
I don't understand why her kid's so evil. I don't understand.
He was raised completely amoral. You know? He was born when Alicent had turned full schemer by that point. So he just doesn't, you know, it's kind of might makes right.
2 episodes would have cleared that right up for me. I'm kidding.
Right.
And so she was like, wait a minute, my son lost an eye over an insult. So Viserys is like, because, you know, she's really trying to, like, not talk about what was just said. And Viserys is like, where did you hear that? Alicent interrupts twice. Did you notice that?
Yes. She keeps changing the subject.
Uh-huh. And she's like, where's Laenor?
Yes.
That queer man. She's like, Jesus Christ.
Right. Laenor is an absentee father and gay,
yeah.
By the way. Did anyone notice?
She was like, I'm going to throw in some homophobia. We are going to not talk about this treason.
And Kristen is snorting.
Oh my God. Openly. I don't understand. That's why we didn't get them 2 episodes, because they could not come up with a way to make it that they have him did what he did and then still be around for what he needs to be around for. Because ain't no way. Why does he have so much? Why is his ball so full? I don't get it. He's standing there smirking. His boss is like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Harold the whole time is like, excuse me? Like every time Kristen does something, Harold looks at him. Like
what the fuck?
What,
like
even am I seeing? Yeah.
His 2 answers to the king. I'm like, how the Viserys? What the fuck?
Right. He's completely off the leash.
So finally, Aemon says he heard it from Aegon. Honey, when I tell you I hollered.
Yes.
But also, can we talk about the facts? This is the kind of shit that was pissing me off. And, you know, people are like, oh, no. Rhaenyra's finally playing the game. She's playing the game. I'm like, okay, because sis been getting the fuck on my nerves. Because Alicent has raised schemers, okay?
Yeah.
Little homie was like, I heard it from this motherfucker. And at the end of the day, they knew their father wasn't going to do shit.
Right.
Because by all rights, they should have lost their tongues.
Oh, sure.
They're not the heirs.
Right. Aemond is able to, at his young age, look at the dynamics in the room and all the possible answers and decide that the one that will get the less blowback is Aegon. And that's who he says. Like, a kid shouldn't be able to clock all that.
But meanwhile, Rhaenyra's 2 boys are just asking for Jell-O and shit. Like, they're just kids. They don't know.
Right.
And I'm like, girl, this is going on you on the beach fucking your uncle. Come on.
Yeah. Like, it's good, but it's bad.
Right. So Aegon is like, what the fuck? He's like, well, where did you hear it? And I'm like, me? It's like, you're literally the only Aegon in the room, nigga. Shut up. The only Aegon on earth. Literally. Shut up. Yes, you. No, the Conqueror. Who the fuck you think
Right.
you heard it from? So he was like, where'd you hear it from? And he was like, look, Pops, the street's been talking. And I was like, God damn it. Even these kids are playing this game better than Rhaenyra.
He's like, unlike Aemond, I have 2 eyes and I can see.
He's like, he threw everybody in that room under the bus.
Right.
It's like, we are literally all thinking it, except these 2 little boys. They just found out.
Right. And for the most part, Aegon is kind of a joke. But in this moment, I just loved the way he said that. Mm-hmm. Even though I don't want him to be saying it. It was so good.
It's so good that he said it, though.
We all know.
He's a teenager. He's a fucking teenager who has now been told that he should be king and will be king.
Yeah.
So he's like, fuck it. Let's just say it. Her kids are not fucking legitimate.
Right.
And you still want to put her on the throne. Of course he said it. Because his mother has been telling him it's his rightful place to say it, to be the heir. He had no fear.
Yeah.
And Viserys ain't do shit. So what does he do? He's like, we are family. And you need to start acting like family and apologize. And the queen is like, is you stupid? What are you talking about? My son lost his eye. You want him to get an apology? Like, what?
Right.
She's like, that is insufficient.
Yeah.
She says she wants an eye for an eye. She said, and if the king is not going to seek justice, the queen shall. So she's like, so Kristen. Everybody look at him. Even the king. He was like, oh no. I know this motherfucker better not step forward. Even Westerling looked at him like, you better not.
Yes, the slow look. He like turns his whole head like, oh?
Because of the giggling earlier,
Right.
I feel like, you know, there's a moment where Weston was like, are we doing this? Because I will cut you in half.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think from this moment on, and then when we go forward to the confrontation, he knows that Kristen is going to be a problem from this point forward.
Mm-hmm.
That the call is coming from inside the house.
And
that's why he's the best.
So Kristen says, she goes, you were sworn to me. And he says, as your protector. And steps back. And so many reactors were like, oh shit, he's going to do it. And I'm like, no, because if what he said had meant that he was going to do it, he'd have been put down.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like,
gotten there.
Yeah, I feel like this scene was like, we were made to, like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they wanted us to feel like Luke was in more danger than he actually was. But then again, talk about an incompetent government. I don't know, but I just feel like there's no way in fucking hell Sir Kristen would have taken one step, would have gotten within 2 feet of that child.
No.
Like, there's just so many people in the room that just, whose job it is to just should not let that happen. So I just never felt like he was, like, all this yelling, even like that she was allowed to say as much as she did. Like, I was like, there's so much treason happening here, and I don't understand. And the fact that, like, Viserys really thought everybody should just go to bed.
Yeah. In the book, he makes Rhaenyra and Alicent kiss each other.
Yeah, that wasn't going to fly on TV.
No. Like, literally kiss and make up.
The entire audience would have just threw away their HBO Max subscriptions because, like, no, that's ridiculous.
They would have just killed each other. Yeah. It wouldn't happen.
I would have literally rather, to be either one of them, honestly, I would have taken out my own eye before I let him make me kiss that bitch. No. Right. So, the king says, well, at the start of it, I love that he tells Alicent, don't let your temper fuck your head up. Fuck with your judgment. Because you talking some shit. You're treasoning right now, sis, and I need you to not treason. And she kept on treasoning.
Not spoken about the treason.
Yes, he's like, how many times do I have to tell you to cut out the fucking treasoning? So he says, from this moment forward, anybody who questions the legitimacy of Princess Rhaenyra's children shall have their tongues removed. And I was like, I don't believe you.
Well, we'll see.
Because listen, Viserys, I don't know. I'm a different type of person. Because I feel like he should have taken one of them boys' tongues to prove a point.
Well, he didn't mean his own sons.
He don't care about them kids.
He meant somebody else.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't know how it plays in the books, but at least the way it feels to me, Alicent took this whole thing, like when her voice broke, when she was like, Viserys, he's your son. Like, it felt to me that it was like a slow build of her finally, whether it's true or not,
Yeah.
realizing that she did all of this because she was told it was the right thing to do, that it was the right thing for the realm.
Right.
She laid with this nasty ass old man, had 3 of his kids. They're terrible fucking kids, except for Helena.
Right.
And now she's watching, which is like her, I don't want to say counterpart, but like, you know, they were friends. Someone who, she wasn't ever really on Rhaenyra's level, but still, Rhaenyra had a role to play as well. And she watches Rhaenyra like buck the system, fight the system, begrudgingly join the system, have this handed to her, and like keep fucking it up and having this man cover for her, lie for her, turn a blind eye for her, and won't do the same for the children she had. Like, I feel like that's what we're supposed to think. Like, she's finally realizing.
Right.
Now, so I don't know in the book. Now, the reason I say all this is because it does feel like he loves his kids with her in a, like, this is how it's supposed, like, this for the same reason that he had kids with her, because it was his duty to do so, to keep producing as many heirs as he could. So I don't know. It feels like to me, her feelings are valid in that sense. Like, I don't feel like, and then it didn't help when you have Rhaenyra say, "Thank you, Father."
Right. Yes, this does feel like, if you are seeing it from Alicent's point of view, then she doesn't have the frame of reference that Rhaenyra does. She sees, she is stuck as queen, she's stuck in a more traditional role of expectations and etiquette and demands and being a broodmare and all that kind of stuff. And so she thinks that Rhaenyra should have followed the same rules. What she doesn't understand, which comes to light when they confront each other over the knife, is that there is a different set of rules, yes, that Rhaenyra is following, because ultimately her reason for being on the throne, her calling, this prophecy that the Targaryens are passing down through their heirs, that's what matters. And that's what Viserys has told Rhaenyra it matters.
Right.
And so Rhaenyra has simply been filling that role to make sure that that goes down. And yeah, that places her outside of certain rules and expectations that Alicent, as the queen, has. But she doesn't know that because it's a secret. And would she be able to understand that at this point? Would she empathize with that? Probably not.
But is it a secret, though? Because I feel like he told her, maybe she thought it was like drunk ramblings that night at that bonfire. And I feel I don't think she's like, she held on, because I mean, I do think that even if it wasn't, though, I do think that she would still justify what she's doing by saying, well, who says it has to be her?
Yes.
My children are Targaryens. They're more Targaryen than her children. Like, right. You know what I mean? Like,
which they aren't.
Well, that's true. They're not.
They're all half.
But you know what I mean? They look, you know what I mean? I feel like she would, even if she did know or take that seriously, what she heard, I think she would just be like, well, why doesn't that apply to my kids? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So she's like, you know what? Fuck you. I'll do it myself. So I can't depend on a man. So she grabs the knife. The dagger.
The dagger. Yep.
If you don't know the dagger, then I'm assuming you've not been paying attention to Game of Thrones.
Please unfollow. Yeah.
Yeah. And as that, like, everybody kind of clashes as she charges for her. Like, I love how Westerling immediately instructs the guards to stay with the king.
Yeah.
Kristen tries to rush into it, and Damien was like, no, the fuck you don't.
Right.
Like, how did he stop this man with all this armor on? It was like he ran right into a wall.
I watched this. I didn't just watch the sex scene on repeat. I watched this scene on repeat like 50 times. And it is so crazy because like the blocking from everyone is doing something amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but right now, Harold, he shouts, "Stay with the king." He says this to Kristen because he doesn't want him to leave that platform. The first thing that Kristen does is step off the platform.
Yep.
Harold turns and pushes him into a crowd of men, into the middle of a crowd of men to stop him, to like slow him down, and then keeps running as fast as he can. And then he turns around and yells, "Cole, do not!" The whole time, like 3 times, he tries to stop Kristen. And so, like, by this point, Kristen has run through like 8 guys. And then that's when Damon steps out and he's like, "No." And then I think this is when the twins on the Kingsguard, Eric and Eric, go on either side of Kristen, and they stop him, and then Damon just steps back. So
he
great.
he is a motherfucking problem, and I feel like the moment Allison takes control, they have to get rid of Westerling, right?
Yeah.
And I hate to do this, but like so much of this is like so much from Game of Thrones. It is like history repeats itself, because this reminds me obviously of the whole thing with Joffrey being cut by Arya, or being bitten by Arya's dog.
Yeah.
Direwolf. And Cersei demanding, and even Robert being like, "What the fuck? Do you want me to sit there and, harm kids? Like, what's wrong with you?"
Right.
But even like the aftermath of this, like when Cersei took control, how they got rid of people who would not be, loyal to them. Like, what's his name? Sir Barristan Selmy. Mm-hmm. That's who Westerling reminds me of. So I'm sorry I keep making comparisons, but I just feel like it's like history repeating itself.
Right. And they did hire this actor, who is very well recognized. Mm-hmm. By this point, Westerling has been dead for 10 years, and Kristen is in charge of the Kingsguard. So the fact that they still have this character in play, me suggests that he might be important.
Right. Yeah, and you didn't get this actor to play this character.
Right.
You don't prolong the character's stay.
Yeah.
And then get him to be played by this actor and not have it mean something.
And just have him like die off screen.
Right,
so
right.
There's definitely a Kingsguard who's important going forward, and I think they might swap him.
Give him the roles, yeah.
Yeah.
So when she I like how the Corlys and Rhaenys are like protecting the kids.
Yeah, they have all the kids.
Mm-hmm. They're like the best grandma and grandpa.
They are so good. Yeah, the second something happens, Corlys shoves the boys behind him, and Rhaenys grabs them all.
Mm-hmm.
They're so good. I love them as a team.
I do. Me too. But by the time Rhaenyra turns around and she stops Alicent, she was like, "You've gone too far." And she was like, "What have I done but what was expected of me?" And she talks about how things like duty and sacrifice are just trampled under her pretty little feet. What have I been saying all fucking season? I'm sorry. I know you already know this stuff because you read it, but like, I'm so happy she said it plainly. Mm-hmm. And she's just fucking jealous. She's like, they shoved me in the boxes and I stayed. And you didn't want to get in the box and they shoved you in the box and you keep trying to get out and you keep breaking all the rules and they keep putting nice things in your box and I'm getting shit. And now my son loses an eye and everybody's like, "Nope, just suck it up." I will say I understand her pain there. Yeah. But I'm glad that all the other shit came out. Right. You know what I mean? Like what I said before, she hates that Rhaenyra gets away with shit.
Yeah. And what a line it's crushed, trampled under your pretty foot again.
Mhm.
Like,
Because she loves
how
her.
catty. Yes, that's so just like
Because they're in
what is
love.
it
She's in love with her.
you need? Yes, yes. Come on.
Oh God. And she's like, it must have been exhausting. She's like, what? She's like, pretending you're a nice person. You're a mean, nasty, jealous bitch. That's not what she said, but that's what I heard.
Yeah, yeah. Like Alicent is sitting there saying, "Oh, I've done everything that was expected of me. I've been upholding the kingdom and all this honor and whatever." You've been fomenting rebellion for 10 years. Like, don't shut the fuck
Well,
up.
she's rebellion in the name of the realm, though, for the good of the realm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes
Because
it better.
yes, that's what her father told her, and she's like, and I mean, think about it. I do feel like she's
Yeah,
in a situation where she wants this to mean something. It's been her entire life she devoted to this old man and having his children and being his queen and not, getting things like love, like a passionate love relationship and marrying a man she wanted to marry and all that stuff. And it means nothing at the end of the day. Like, these children could be mutilated and no one will do anything if it's by Rhaenyra's kids. Like, I get it. But also, fuck you. I don't like her. I just don't.
right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But no,
Well,
but she go ahead. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
she could have worked to blend these two families together so that it wasn't an us versus them situation.
But she
But she decided not to. So now it is either one side or the other.
I guess she has to, the thought I was saying before, I guess she has to believe what her father says, like that this is, because I mean, if you think about it, how do you believe that your son is fit to be king after you caught him jerking off in the window? Like, and remember, she didn't acknowledge it. Like, she never,
Right.
it was like she didn't even see it. Like, it didn't even, I guess you have to be that way, right? Like, you can't acknowledge your children's or your son's shortcomings at the same time that you're trying to say you believe he's what's best for the realm. So you have to look past all that stuff and just play the part. And you have to believe that it all means something. Otherwise, you gave your life away for what?
Right. Yeah. You're just churning out flesh to be burned.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so, I mean, the irony was in in the same episode where Laris says, you would do the same for your children that Viserys is doing for his own. He's overlooking their faults and you would do the same. It was in much more compact language. And she said, no, I wouldn't. You literally just did.
Yes.
That's all you do.
She's so Cersei. Except I think Cersei knew Joffrey was a fucking psychopath. So yeah, she's like, now they see you as you are. And in pulling away Rhaenyra, because she didn't cut her, right?
Who?
She didn't, did she purposely slice her, or was it one of those they pulled away at the same time?
I don't know. I think she swung down
Okay.
as she was pulling away. She didn't seem shocked that it happened, like it was a huge accident.
Listen, nice touch, obviously, with Rhaenyra being reminded why she's doing what she's doing, because she sees the inscription and the blade and the flames. But this is where I don't understand. Like, I don't believe that Rhaenyra, I don't know why Rhaenyra didn't push this.
Yeah.
I feel like she would have, I feel like she would have nothing to lose by pushing this, by pushing some sort of accountability for the fact that this rumor is out there that your son to say it plain, be like, you knew that this motherfucker was conspiring against me. You brought him back to be your hand. He is the grandfather of the boy. You have to know that they want him to be your heir and not me. Like, this is what's going on. You're not long for this world, dude. Like, I don't know. I feel like she should have pushed this. And then at the end of it, I get slashed by the queen in front of everybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
And nothing. It's like, okay, we all just go to bed.
Right. Yeah.
It just feels too convenient for me. It just feels like there's a lot of people getting away. Like I said, there's a lot of treason.
I guess we can say that she knows Viserys is not going to do anything.
Well, she did worry a little bit in the next scene when Otto visits, and she's like, I'm ashamed. I don't know. Were we supposed to believe this? That she said she regretted what she did? Was she saying like what she would be expected to say?
I think she is feeling. See, it's difficult to know if she was playing this exactly as she would have played it if this character were 7 episodes long and not one of the first episodes that she'd ever filmed. I don't know how she was told to play it, but
good point.
I mean, definitely if I were in the room with my abusive parent and I thought that they were coming in to say, their usual, I would, whether I felt that or not, I would say the words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to make the conversation happen so it could end. So
yeah, that's exactly how I was feeling. Like, this feels like what she's supposed to say. The actor sold it though. Like, I felt like if you told me she meant it, I would be like, yep, I believe that. But I'm just curious if like you said, how she was told to portray it. What is the truth of it? But it felt genuine. But either way, he's like, no. You've never been better. It's like,
right.
He's like, and what? He was like, oh, and that little dipshit you raised, he was absolutely right. It was worth both of his eyes and more.
Right. And it's interesting that he calls Aemond a rogue, which is what they call Daemon.
Yeah.
Prince. And, no coincidence that Aemond is just Daemon with,
yes.
Yes. The D at the end. They are parallels.
And this is the type of stuff where, again, she has to be telling herself some serious lies because I truly believe she was upset over her child. That's I don't think she's a complete monster. And to hear the child's grandfather, just be like, worth it. Like, the two opposite reactions to that. Like, it's like, how do you not question what you're doing?
Right.
Even from, because no matter, how, like, again, you can kind of tell yourself what you can about your own actions, like, how do you justify, like, in that moment when you're still kind of mourning what just happened?
Right.
Because you don't, like, you know what I mean? Like, something like that happens to your kid, like, that takes a minute. And so it's like immediately after your dad's like, walk it off.
Right.
Oh, anyway. Rhaenyra's getting sewn up and Laenor comes in and they have a private conversation. Her cut is being sewn up. And we learned that Jace has a broken nose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got little tissues. Luke has tissues up his nose. That was so funny. I didn't even notice that the first time. Then I saw a picture of it. I was like, the tissues in his nose.
They're so cute.
Kids never change.
So when Laenor first comes in, I was like, oh my God, are we going to get a pity party? Because, like, you missed all this shit. And then you show up and you're like, I couldn't be there for my sister. And I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, why are we starting with this? And then I couldn't be there for you. And I'm like, oh, great. Make this about you. But he turns it around where he's basically like, I've fucked up. I've not done my job the way I should have been doing it. I haven't even loved the boys as maybe as well as or as much as I should have. And he recommits himself to her. And I was like, oh my God, you're not making it out of this episode.
Right. And as much as he is an affectionate father, and I do think that he's a good man, and she thinks he's a good man, and, you know, the boys have a good heart, undoubtedly partially due to him. We've also been shown that Laenor fucks around a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, there's only...
At the end.
And here's the thing. I feel like some people are like taking what she said and like, well, she was like, well, that was the deal. And I feel like, yeah, but it was the deal. But at some point you have to, as he said here, I feel like this is something he should have did years ago. At some point you have to realize we had a deal for me to take a job, right?
Right.
We had a deal for me to take this job. And the deal was I get to do all this other stuff, but I still got to do the fucking job, right? And the job, me, you know, where I'm failing to do the job, I feel like, you know, even if it's 5 years ago, at some point, he had to realize, okay, I'm making this situation worse. We're making this situation worse. And maybe I don't need to be, you know, drunk caroling through the halls with my lovers. Like, come the fuck on. Right. So yeah, I get that was the deal that they made, but I feel like Laenor was messy.
Yeah, he was. Like, we can't forget that he was, like, everybody was noticing this. The servants were noticing it. He was coming in at the end of all these major events and going, what's going on?
Yeah, like a frat boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing his boyfriend in, talking about her boobs. Like, that no. Yeah. Like, this is...
Right. That wasn't part of the deal. That wasn't, yeah. But I do like in the scene where he talks about how he hates the gods for making them as he is, meaning gay. And she was like, I don't. I love that even like in the end when they wanted you to believe that the worst was happening, that she was being so terrible, that she tells Damon that she does love Laenor. And I like that you see that here in this scene too, when, you know, he's like, you know, we made a pact to do our duty and find happiness elsewhere. And the way she like laughs here, it's like, oh, you're reminded of when they were young, you know?
Naive.
Yeah. Yeah. This was one of those scenes where I felt like they did the casting. Like they may not look exactly, you know, they may not resemble each other as well as I think Olivia and Emily do, but I think they nail the character mannerisms that the younger ones, and whether, you know, who got it from whom, I don't know, but they match so well. And I really think you see it here when Rhaenyra laughs. It looks so much like when Millie Alcock would smile. Yeah.
Right. And their conversation here where they, you know, they affirm that they did try. She tells Damon earlier that they tried. And I don't know if we've had this discussion in the group or comments or whatever, but I heard and read so many. This is the pit that I ran into this week, is people commenting, well, they didn't try hard enough. And I think that is gross.
Like,
what is gay? Stop.
Right. Like, what is that? So
you, like, he didn't try. Like, no, that's not
how it works. Yeah.
No. Just, that's gross.
And I took it as, I mean, that's even assuming that he couldn't do it. It kind of like I don't know, something about the phrasing in this episode, both when she speaks to Damon and then here, when she said the few times we lay together, I thought they finished. She just didn't get pregnant.
Right.
And because it was like a, you know, terrible experience for both of them, him being gay and not wanting to do this and her not wanting to be with him in that way.
Yeah.
For all the reasons that this whole shit is awkward and terrible. Like, I thought that they tried a few times, but that she just didn't get pregnant. That's how I took it. Because when you say when we lay together, I took it like that it went to completion. And so when she was like, I was hoping to get pregnant, that she had hoped in those times after they finished that she got pregnant, and she didn't.
Right. I completely agree.
Okay.
And I just think people are pushing him not sleeping with her enough, and I just can't imagine why you would want him to when he doesn't want to.
Right, exactly.
That's not okay.
Yes. On the ship home, we have to watch as the Greens leave with Vagar. That hurt my heart.
A gut punch.
That hurt my heart.
Yeah.
Laris. Why do I have such a hard time with his name tonight? Was Laris?
Laris, I guess.
Laris. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
He offers to take a child's eye for the queen. She's like, not now, but maybe later. That's not what they said, but that's what I heard.
That's basically what he said. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she's kind of committing to being the worst.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra and Daemon. Okay, so they're watching the ship sail off, and I think that this confused people because of the way it's shown, because they do the thing where they're having this conversation, and again, we see the ships leaving for King's Landing and the dragons off in the distance. So you would assume this is happening right after they left, right?
Yeah.
And they're talking about a plan that then takes place after the king and them left, right? And you're seeing this, then you see this wedding that took place clearly after all of that, right?
Right.
And so...
No, the wedding is at Dragonstone, so it's not even the same place.
Right. So this is like way after, right?
Right.
And, I think, but then when they show you like the little twist at the end, so I think people are just kind of confused because, again, they do that thing where they're talking about the plan at a time when they're, way in... Well, let's just say the present, right? Because the episode ends with the king leaving. Okay. And they're showing you the future as they're carrying out the plan that they're talking about. And some shows do that thing where it's like, well, sure, that's how it would go down if that's what we were to do. But no, it's very clear that they're talking about what they're going to do and we're seeing them do it. But the way they're talking about it, the conversation begins with them talking about how the Valyrians, so this would be Corlys's line, are of the sea, but we are of fire. And at some point, Rhaenyra switches to High Valyrian and she tells him that she needs him. Well, before she switches, she says, I need you, uncle. And I'm like, do not call this man uncle after you fucked him. Seriously.
See, I've read too much fan fiction already. I'm already over it. Like, to me, it's sexy. So I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered.
No. Sarah, you're too far gone. I didn't know down his deep.
I'm all the way down. Yeah, I'm in the pit.
My sister in Christ, I will save you. When she said uncle, I was like, no, you ruined it. Stop.
And I was like, calling that again.
You're like saying it High Valyrian this time.
Yeah.
See, maybe that's what they need to do for me. I need to not understand. I don't need to hear it in a language I understand.
Yeah, just don't translate it. Yeah.
Yeah, just please. So she says, I can't beat the Greens with... I love that she officially calls them the Greens.
Greens, yes.
Because I don't feel like no one outside, like no one in universe has said that.
Yeah.
Right? This is the first time someone in universe is like, hey, she's been in the chats with us.
Yes.
Why is she calling them the Greens?
Just move to the Greens.
Mm-hmm. So she's like, I can't beat them without you. And she was like, no one, and she's seriously like, we need to get married and have some kids. And no one would question my claim if we did that. And he says, well, for us to get married, Lena got to be dead. And then this is where the entire audience held their breath.
Right.
And I would imagine as a book reader, when you know how he dies in the book, you're wondering, oh, is this the moment where she says, do it? You know, like, or, you know, is this the book confirming that they got Carl to do it? You know, I could imagine y'all were probably like freaking out.
Well, in the book, she's not a part of it at all. Like, you just think that Damon probably was like, well, I'm tired of being single. She needs to be single. Let's move this plot forward.
So y'all had to be doubly freaked out because
yes.
You're like, is she in on? Oh,
she
my God.
And then when she goes, I know.
Yes.
I was like,
let me tell you, I was hot because I was like, God damn it, Rhaenyra. And that's what I think if you like, there was this, I forget what it was called, but this app that we used to use back when we were watching Game of Thrones and, like one of the early seasons, and they had approached us to kind of promote this app. I don't know if people still use it. Remember, you could we would be in a chat and watch the show together. It's basically what we do in a group, but I think it kind of it saves it, and it was time stamped to line up with the show. So if we had that right now in the group, right when she was like, I know, I think the first comment I put in the group was, I can't root for her no more. She is not going to kill this gay black man. I don't care. And I know y'all keep telling me race ain't the same in this. Fuck it. She is not going to kill this gay black man. I was hot, girl. I was like, you're going to fuck your uncle on the beach, and now you're ready to kill your goddamn husband? I was hot.
Right.
But then he said, we need a witness. I was like, for what? What? That's the last thing you would need.
Right.
Unless you're going to make it look like an accident.
There you go.
But then he goes and he talks to Carl, and he had on his murder hoodie. And I was like, oh, damn.
Yes.
He dressed like an exiled Jedi again. He's about to murder someone. So my emotions were flip-flopping is what I'm saying. I was like, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen?
Yes.
Yeah. So then they cut to Damon killing a black man on the stairs of Driftmark. And it was clearly not Laenor. Right. So that's when I looked at Donnie. And then it cuts to her saying, I do love him. And they show Carl sitting in Rhaenys's seat by the fire. I was like, what the fuck is he doing there? And I looked at Donnie, I was like, this has to be a setup, right? He's like, you think so? And I was like, yeah, it has to be. It has to be. And I honestly thought, Sarah, I was like, Nina, you're fetching. You're fetching. Because you don't, they did this really well. And I just kept holding on to him saying they need a witness. Yeah. So when
they did it so well that I think a lot of people's brains saw Damon killing somebody in the hallway and just deleted it from their memory. Because 50% of the people that I saw talking afterward were like, oh my God, Rhaenyra had her husband killed.
Like how, so right when I said, when he walked in and he was like, what are you doing in my father's thing? And the way they were talking to each other.
It was so weird.
Yeah, I was like, when he said, you always look down on me, that's when I said to Donnie, oh, this is fake. Right. We saw nothing like that.
Right. He was never like that.
Yeah. And then the kid runs off and I'm like, okay, so they set this up.
Yeah. I thought it was important that Laenor brought a little boy with him, because if he had brought a grown servant, the servant might have tried to intervene. But a little boy could do nothing but run. And he, you know what? The little boy did try to step forward, and Laenor pushed him. Pushed him out of the way.
Yeah, he did. He did try to, as kids do, right before they, step towards each other. Yeah. Aww. So they fight. We don't see it. And this is the Game of Thrones universe. Why would we not see a violent death when we can?
Right.
Why not show it to us?
as crappy as their lines were to each other that didn't make any sense, which like a little boy wouldn't understand that anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. But the sword fight was very loud. To me, they were going for like maximum noise.
Yeah, and like he hit him too. He hit Lena in the face at one point.
Yes.
They were really going for it. And so as she's saying, you know, I do love Lena. This is, you know, kind of mixed in with the scene that we're seeing, this fight, this confrontation. Damon says, we'll do him this kindness and set him free. And again, I mean, like, I feel like this is, they're telling you without telling you, like, set him free, especially because at the start of the conversation, she said the sea is like an escape from fire. Fire is a prison. Yes. Right.
The sea is an escape.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Because it's just so, it's, you know, I don't care. People are going to be like, oh, it's woke bullshit. But like, you know, we have been joking about it as Black people. And I'm sorry, we don't get to like divorce that from our lives, even when we're watching fiction. Right. You know, whiteness has made it that way. Sorry, deal with it. And so when we're watching stuff like this, even though the universe has not made it seem like race is a thing when it comes to, is particularly the Valerians, it's still a thing for us. And so it's been like, okay, we get that the universe that we're in and that these people have to die and that these people were not Black in the books. We get all of that, but it's just still rough watching like week after week, you know, we were excited for the casting and then it's like, you know, very early. And then you get a second season pickup after the first episode and we're excited. And then like the Black characters are just, you know, dropping.
Right.
So, and then it doesn't help that last week we watched a queer man get pulverized. So it felt like to kill another, come on, y'all. So
yeah. And
I like this.
I think, yes, I was so pleased that they changed this. And you can't forget that, I mean, yes, George R.R. Martin, you know, I curse his name every day, but also, you know, as great of a writer as he is, why am I talking like Shakespeare? Although he is a great writer, he is not the most evolved person. Okay, yes. Like the way that he writes about women and LGBTQ.
Have you heard the latest with his co-writer?
Oh yeah, she's been problematic a lot.
Yeah, her and her husband apparently. I just found out about this yesterday, and they're the founders of the Westeros.org. Yeah. And so you saw the latest, like with him, with it's basically her saying, yeah, he knows. And she made it seem like he's like, yeah, he knows that I say shit online and that people fight with me over it. He just thinks that I shouldn't bother talking to people online.
Right.
Doesn't address the problematic shit that she says. But anyway, okay.
George is Viserys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the things that he's written all through his books and in the shows this comes out, like LGBTQ characters always get the short end of the stick. They always get killed or tortured or maimed or all of the above. Always. So it's not that I don't think that changing this is some kind of fakery thing.
Right,
you know, like we're just doing this to be politically correct. I think it's important.
It's important
to evolve the way that all these characters are treated.
And listen, I gotta say, if the way I feel right now, I don't know what's to come beyond, like, you know, we joke like everybody's gonna die and we're gonna lose all our dragons. It's like I don't know like the order in which people die and all that stuff and how they die and all that. I can't imagine. I don't care what the plot point is. I don't care if it's, man, if we don't find one person with Valerian blood, the whole world's going to explode. And like, they don't know that they think all of them are dead. And we know that later's over, you know, across the narrow sea. I don't give a fuck what the plot point is. Nothing can be, it's nothing that can't be fixed with, he just never comes back. They never, like, you just keep him dead. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, just keep them dead. And I think what we're supposed to think is like no, like, because if it was an issue, they would have told his parents or at least his mother. Do you know what I mean? Like, to not let them go through that. But the fact that it was like, no, there are 3 of us that know about this, or 4, and leave it at that. I feel like he might as well be dead in terms of plot. No?
I don't know. Because
really?
Yeah, because it does open a plot hole in that his dragon.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because they don't. There's no record of a dragon taking 2 riders at the same time.
So either Sea Smoke remains riderless on the show, which I'm assuming may conflict with some Sea Smoke important plots in the book, or they have to. Maybe this is where the show kind of creates its own lore, where we learn what happens. Where maybe this is how they figure out that nigga ain't dead.
Right? Yeah, it is, and it's not unusual for a dragon to be riderless for a long time, as we see with Vhagar, for a long time after their rider is apparently dead. So, but yeah, I mean, he's kind of important. So,
what if it's Rhaena? What if Rhaena takes him?
It could be there are a number of things they could do. The fact that Sea Smoke takes another rider could just be new lore. It could be that's how we learn he's died overseas, or they could economize some characters and bring him back. I think. Gotcha.
Okay, yeah. I'm up for whatever. I'm just happy that Rhaenyra didn't kill him.
Right. And I'm happy actually had a lot of fuss. Like, I said that on Twitter, and but don't look at it because it's kind of spoilery. And and somebody was like, but that whole set of characters is important, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying that the whole set of characters, the people who know what I'm saying, but like, I'm not saying that a whole set is going away. I'm saying that you could, if you really tried.
Okay.
You could sub him out. Yeah. But yeah, I was really glad that it went down like this.
Yes, and I'm glad for what it says about, again, Rhaenyra's character, that she didn't murder this person that she just admitted to loving and, raising children with, and for, for whatever it's worth, raising children with. I'm glad that she didn't go through with that. And I'm glad that, now at the same time, Daemon did murder some innocent black man on this stage. Right. I mean, I would have preferred that's not good. I don't know. I would have preferred it was like somebody from the Driftmark cells, like Polo Lars. Maybe they want to go to that well again, I guess. Like somebody who's going to die anyway. I don't know. Or just a dead body already. I don't know. But yeah. But I'm again, glad that Rhaenyra didn't go through with it. And so, that's it. We get to, it sucks. We see them mourning him. This is how the fuck is happening in my fucking house.
Right.
And poor Rhaenys.
Oh my God. Eve Best is doing incredible work.
I can't. We're going to talk about her more in a bit, actually, because she's attached to the upcoming scenes that I really want to talk about. The Targaryen wedding. They're cutting each other with dragon glass. They're like vampires. They're like licking blood, blood handshakes, blood kisses. This was oddly beautiful. It felt something like Lord of the Rings. They look like elves.
Yes.
Them poor children look miserable and cold and confused.
Right. And they were in their own little world.
Okay, can I just say something really quickly? I'm sorry. I'm going to let you talk about the wedding.
No.
Because I don't want to forget this. You know what I just thought? And I like this, though. As much as I've been complaining book readers are telling me, no, this is where it starts. This is where Rhaenyra starts playing the game. And I see this as a power move. And I didn't say this, but she does mention that in faking Laena's death, like people are going to whisper that she was involved. And I think that's the line that comes up right when we see her lip being cut and we realize that we're watching this wedding. And that, but the fact that it doesn't happen, it's like people are going to fear her because they're always going to wonder and believe that she did it. So this is, you know, between this and marrying him, these are all power moves that she's making. But, oh, wait, sorry, I thought this thing stopped recording. But I like that this is now, the kids are now involved. And I hate to say it because they're still kids and they're all mourning right now. But I think this encounter with Aemon and hearing the things that they heard, because I don't think Rhaena and Baela, this shit was not on their radar.
No.
They didn't know. I don't know that they ever overheard that Auntie Rhaenyra doesn't have, Uncle Laener's kids are not his kids. And you know what I mean? Like they learned a lot tonight. But I feel like, especially because we're getting a time jump, I'm so curious to see what type of people Baela, Rhaena, Jace, and Luke are. I hope that they're now smarter. You know what I mean? But like, I don't want them to be assholes like the Targaryen kids over there. But you get what I'm saying. Right. So I like this union for that. Like, I'm curious to see how these kids get on. And I'm hoping that Rhaenyra is now starting to build a true coalition, her own alliance of dragon riders and stuff, because she's not been fucking playing the game, I think.
Agreed.
So, okay, go ahead. You can talk about the wedding. I'm sorry.
And we don't, I just wanted to say, you know, we don't know how Rhaenys will move forward in joining their coalition if she truly believes that Rhaenyra is capable of this. Mm-hmm. But maybe it's good for her to see that Rhaenyra can also be hardcore. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, but
yeah, because you know that's so funny because I had not considered that.
Yeah,
this idea, like, holy shit! I don't know why I hadn't considered that if they think that she killed their son.
Yeah.
But that's why he said they need the witness.
Right.
So maybe they won't believe it. Maybe they, you know what I mean? Maybe they will think it was Carl.
And regardless, the girls are on Rhaenyra's side. So Rhaenys is going to protect the girls.
That's true. That's true.
She's got her own interests in that. And you can kind of see why Daemon allows everybody to think that he does everything.
Yes.
Because it's to his benefit.
Yes. Because we know, like, there's times when his dick don't work. We know that he has issues about, like, feeling like, I don't need anybody's help. So it's great for him to have all this, like, bad press, this evil bad press. But you know what I just thought of? So when we talked about how Corlys was like, go get your patron, maybe that's the, like, not why that happened, obviously, because he wasn't in on what happens later, but maybe that's why that sells what happens to the audience. Yes. Because people publicly saw him grip up Carl. Yeah. So maybe that leads to how others would easily believe that Carl did something like, do you get what I mean? Like, sure. Because that public interaction. Yeah. And then like
public humiliation. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next day he and Laenor and then Laenor being drunk. So maybe that was the purpose of all of that. Like Laenor's whole, just everybody, I mean, in universe seeing this happen.
Right.
That's, you know, plausible. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, with the wedding, the creator of the language, his name is David, and then I can't remember his last name. Sorry, Peterson something. Mm-hmm. Unsure. Anyway, the guy who created the Valyrian language said that the glyphs on their forehead in blood are fire and blood. So it's all part of it.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. And that this kind of wedding is like this Valyrian wedding is another parallel between Daemon and his his big comparison, Maegor, because Maegor
Oh, that's
married
right.
his number 2 through 5, 2 through 6 wives in Valyrian weddings because his original wife was a Hightower, and then he kept adding more women. So,
And you said he married wives 2 through what?
2 through 6.
2 through 6. Of course he did. And the final scene, though, is Laenord's alive. It was all a plan, a plot, a con to smuggle him out so that he could go live across Narrow Sea with Carl.
I screamed.
And be free. Yay.
Yep.
That's so cool.
When Carl was in the boat, so what happens in the book is that Carl kills Laenor in the marketplace or whatever happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then Carl goes away on the boat, and then it's assumed, of course, that Daemon either went on the boat and killed Carl himself and threw him in the water because nobody ever saw him again, or he paid somebody to murk Carl. So when Carl is rowing out into the water and somebody is running up in a cloak, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Hoodie. Oh my God. You were like, there goes Daemon in his fucking murder hoodie about to go murdering poor Carl in a boat.
So that was like one last time, that the murder cloak was going to get used. So if you did miss all the scheming, that was, like you could temporarily lose your mind and go, oh my God, is he really going to get Carl? But no, it was Laenor.
Oh man, I not having read the book, like I apologize if there are book readers who this didn't work for you, but my God, I think that's great. Like,
so good.
Like, just like knowing that part of it, like I had no idea about Carl on a boat and the theory about this. So like, yeah, as a book reader, if I saw that, him sitting, you're like, oh, this is it. This is where Carl now dies. Like, holy shit, Daemon really was killing everybody.
Yes.
And they're like, nah. Oh, that's awesome.
And I love that Carl turned out to be a good guy.
Yeah, because he was like, when he was like, what do you want? And he was like, a murder with a witness. I mean, I was just like, Carl didn't clutch his pearl, so I was worried for a second.
Right. Yes, and from the start.
Yeah, and we didn't.
Just from the start, knowing how this goes. The first time Carl turns up, and Laenor is like letting him in their rooms and
talking about her boobs.
All of Rhaenyra's business, and I'm like, we don't even know if this guy is a good person. Like, he just picked him up at a bar, And
well, because I was going to say that, and I wasn't sure, but it did feel like they had just met in that episode.
Yes.
So it was just like so surprising to me too that he turned out to be a good person, because this wasn't even somebody that he was with that long.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So we got some feedback. I'm going to read through it quickly. Devin. Hey, Booze. Hey, Devin. How about that Walking Dead episode? Am I right? Listen, I loved it. The podcast is already out for it. But seriously, we got to throw my nigga Eamon some slack. Why?
No, we don't.
His timing was terrible, and he did come back with a shitty attitude. But man, you got to applaud this little nigga for his testicular fortitude and the gangsta-ass line of, I may have lost an eye, but I gained a dragon. I do want to say I'm Team Black, but I don't like Daemon. You don't like Daemon, but you like Eamon? Wow.
He's just saying that to rile me up.
Speaking of which, he says, also, I discussed with Sarah the little bug girl's ramblings. Nina, can we get your thoughts on what she was talking about when she was playing with Charlotte the spider? Yeah, it just felt like, I think Sarah nailed it. That's what I assumed, that it was just, the weaving of a web and plots of the greens and the blacks. And when she talked about, what was the line she said? Something like, I closed my notes. Shit. Something of like dragons of flesh and then dragons of
cloth.
Yes. Yes. I hadn't considered that, but I like, Sarah, I think you said like the calling of the banners, calling to war. Yeah, I like that. Works for me.
Sorry.
That works for me.
Anyway, yeah.
Then he says, lastly, well, I was honestly wanting a little bit more. Like, I feel like that's all I'm going to care about with this character, by the way. Like, what is she saying?
Right.
Who's going to die next?
It is. Yes, like the first time through, she said some nonsense, and then now we're all just dying to hear what she's got to say next.
Yes, because I still don't know. What was the last, something has no legs at all, right? The last ring? This last ring has no legs at all. So we still don't know what that's about, right? Like, I'm going to ask you about that every week. Okay. Lastly, will we see Laenor again? And what about Seasmoke? Because we just kind of talked about that. And I'm up for anything. I'm just happy he didn't die. So,
yes.
Love y'all. Can't wait to hear the pod. Love you too. Thank you, Devin. Ashley says, hi, Booze. Let's get into it. The minute the tutor shooter punched Rhaena in the face, it was on and popping. Fuck him forever. And shout out to Luke for taking his eye and Baela for getting a solid punch off. Alley Cat exposed herself this episode. She really tried to take a child's eye. Pipe down, you self-righteous witch. Y'all know all of this mostly could have been avoided if she could see through her dad's BS. Them kids all liked each other, except Aemon, before she started poisoning them. Yeah, it felt like particularly Aegon liked the other two kids. Yeah. She's a terrible mother. When she slapped Aegon, I was like, ma'am, your weirdo daddy had him gripped up. It's not his fault his brother snuck off. This is true. She was like, you were in your cups. It's like he's 12. What are we doing?
And I think even Aemond could have probably gotten past the whole pig incident if they weren't all separated immediately afterward.
Yeah. That's true. Manera just kept making all the wrong moves. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
One last thing. When we getting female directors back? Because the men are determined to have these dark ass scenes. Listen. These dark scenes and terrible sex scenes. And they are terrible at directing sex scenes. Lord, I couldn't see anything. Okay, thanks. Bye. I love y'all. Mimi says, sorry, I submitted my feedback late last time. You could just chuck it. This episode was better anyway. She says, wow, this episode, I love how lines in the sand got drawn. Everybody's circling the wagons and the chessboard is being filled out. My main quibble feels rather trivial. That's fine. I've been quibbling all night. I'm spoiled by how good the Claire Kilner directed sexy times were. I was all set for the Borgia-style swoon-worthy scene, and we get mellow strings and standard camera angles. Oh, well. I'm sorry, I was drawing a blank on the director. It's Miguel, that's right. Oh, well. I got Damon later showing Sir Kristen who was boss, so I'll take it. Yeah, that was really hot, by the way. The director Kilner is coming back, though, so fingers crossed. Aside from bringing a swath of literal screen darkness with him, Aemon seems like a weird mix of Alicent and Daemon. No wonder book readers had a theory he was actually Daemon's love child. Ew. I didn't know that was a thing.
Who was?
I was just about to say, did I lose you again? And you're like, wait, what the fuck did you just say? She said, look, don't, I didn't say it. This ain't my theory. She said, Aemon seems like a weird mix of Alicent.
Aemon?
Yes. That he seems like a weird mix of Alicent and Daemon. No wonder book readers had a theory he was actually Daemon's love child.
Ugh. I think it's in spirit only.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? What was going on in them books? He's kind of cray-cray, seems cognizant of family duty, but also his own seething temper. Yeah, because he was just like, dude, suck it up and marry our sister. He was like, I'd do it if mom asked. He could have said, no, Nico, go. He could have said his gained a dragon line at any time, but he totally let the adults go nuts first. This is true. I hadn't considered that. I loved Alicent losing her shit. The actress really sold it. I'm Team Black, but I'd be jealous too if the closest thing I got to romance in 15 years was stalker guy Lars Straw. That cat's paw dagger is quickly becoming a Daedric, did I say that right? Artifact out of Elder Scrolls. Get that one. I get that reference.
Oh, yeah. Did you see Kristen picked it up at the end?
Oh, is that? That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Get your filthy fucking hand. You know what?
I know. He defiled it.
Oh, I hate him so much. Where was I? The Laena switcheroo made me so happy. Too bad Sir Kristen didn't fall for him. Laena would have been running for that orange boat. I don't get that. Amy, explain that to me. But what about sea smoke? I've been reading theories, but right now I'm just picturing a sad dragon stalking Laena through the free cities. What if he just disappeared? Oh, no, I'm sorry. You guys said that there's some sea smoke stuff coming up. Okay. Like a cute version of It Follows.
That would be funny. If he was stalking him, and like every time he turned around, he was like, what's that? What is that?
He's like, dude, I'm trying to be incognito. I'm already a silver-haired black man over in Essos. I don't need a dragon. Get the fuck out of here.
But he's not good at sneaking around, so he keeps knocking things over.
Yes. This dirt face. Aw. As it stands, maybe that will give Rhaenys a clue that he's not dead, so she won't totally hate Rhaenyra and Daemon. Yeah, I'm just also worried about that too. Anyway, I'm so glad HBO was desperate to get their franchise back on track. I've had so much fun following the show with y'all. Take care. Yay, me too.
That would be interesting if they have a couple sentences. Like, I don't know because of the time jump, but it would be interesting if they have Rhaenys be like, I just think it's weird how Snow seems kind of like happy and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, all I'm saying is I never saw Carl so much as raise his voice, so much as raise an eyebrow. I just don't.
Right.
I find it funny how that body in the fire was like 2 inches shorter than my son. Right. She's just become like a fucking QAnon like conspiracy theorist.
Don't you think it's weird how what happened to that one guy?
Stuart, do you remember that guy? He used to bring me my tea at night. Like,
right.
He didn't stop that night. Like I think that was weird.
And Corliss is like, this again.
You are blind. The gods are cruel, woman. I told you. Jesus Christ. Just gonna gaslight her. As they do. Fuck it, yes, I'm bashing a man again. No. Anton says, hey, Nina and Sarah, wow, way to subvert. I know, right? I feel this is like, I don't think the second time he's written in this season. Wow, way to subvert expectations and ease all of the sense of dread regarding Laena and regarding Laena's end based on the book details. The really, really dark mood lighting aside, mood lighting. This was an excellent character episode. I've never rooted for children to beat up another child, but here we are. I really feel like I said that earlier, like word for word. Right? Far be it for me, but here the fuck we are. Because I was like, beat his ass. Team Black always was and still am. Alicent can stay mad. I appreciate you. And finally, Kimberly W. says, well, ladies, sesting galore. Sesting is how we're calling it. Corliss being a dick, more concerned about his claim to power than the pain and protection of his actual grandchildren. Rhaenys' greatest fear has seemingly come to pass, but why should her wants, needs, happiness, and pain matter? I really can't wait to see her ride a dragon. If I don't get to see that woman on a dragon, we're going to have a problem. Those hideously unattractive, horrid children of Alicent. I just feel bad because they are kids. And I feel like the show, like, clearly, like, plays up like making them look like Draco. Snarling. Yeah. And of course, on the flip side of that, Rhaenyra's boys are purposely like cherub faced, curly hair. Like,
they're all Harry Potters, right?
Yeah, exactly. But because if you look at the actors, like they're just perfectly fine children. Like in the show,
they're all perfectly fine.
Yes, but in the show, I'm like, I hate this kid. Sorry, it's the Joffrey thing all over again.
Yes.
Did you see his wedding photos?
Yes.
Okay. So
I thought, yeah.
Y'all ain't canceling me. Y'all will not be canceling me. I just want to know if you saw him. We can talk about it later. E-I-E-I-O.
Do I even have to say it?
So anyway, she says, perhaps had she spent, she's talking about Alton, less time obsessively hating Rhaenyra and more time parenting her children, they would not be the monsters they keep showing themselves to be. Except Helena, right? Helena, what's her name?
Yeah, Helena.
Did they really have to give that woman beater and future serial killer Vagar? You know white men fail up. Stop. They couldn't have given her to Rhaena. I wanted that little shit to fall so badly, which undoubtedly makes me an awful person.
Does it?
I don't know. I think you're fine. Anyway, where was I? And her final thoughts. And just like, to paraphrase the usual suspects, the devil formerly known as Daemon, the Petty, has reappeared. The battle lines are clearly and publicly drawn. Yeah, like that whole, after she was cut, the drawing of the lines. Notice where the fuck Daemon was standing. And let's talk about, let me finish this real quick so we can talk about the scenes. Okay, let the games begin. Y'all still hashtag Team Rhaenyra? Yes. I'm hashtag Team Not Alton. I'm hashtag Team Leave those girls with Rhaenys and far away from all them nightmares. This is true. I understand that. So the scenes for next week, I just want to say what they seem to be alluding to. So we hear Daemon say that Corlys was gravely wounded. I guess he took his ass back to the Stepstones.
Yep.
And there's a shot of Rhaenys sitting on the Driftwood throne and Vaemon basically challenging her, saying, who is going to inherit or take the Driftwood, sit upon the Driftwood throne? So they are either suggesting that I don't feel like Corlys is a character they would kill off camera like that. But they're suggesting that at the very least he's wounded and enough that the question of whether Lucerys is going to take this seat is coming up. Right. So whether or not he dies, I don't know. So I want to say if he dies, I'm going to be so mad. Y'all not going to keep this for 3 weeks in a row. Y'all just get rid of the black folks and I'm going to be mad. And I know they were not black in the books. Kiss my ass. Y'all know what I'm saying. Y'all know what the fuck I'm saying. You know how the fuck I feel. So
don't at us.
Right. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. If Corlys dies next week, I'm going to be mad. Okay. But I'm hoping it's just the fact that he's hurt. And so like this shit is coming up. So Vaemon is looking a little like he trying to be froggy. He like, look. At first I was like, and honestly, this did not occur to me until like when I started talking about this. Because from the preview going into this, my rant was going to be, he's going to try to challenge Rhaenys. And I think it's because in my brain, in my head, I see her sitting on it in the scene, right? Her sitting on the throne. But it's really Lucerys. And if he challenges Lucerys, he can only say two things, right? Age, parentage.
Yeah.
And Viserys has said,
don't say that.
Don't say that shit no more. So now I'm like, I'm so nervous now because I don't know why I thought my rant was supposed to be, I don't want Rhaenys to have to be beefing with this man. Like, I don't like him. I don't want this drama. And for that to happen, it means that they killed this black man off the show. But now I just realized it's Lucerys. And again, even if it can't be age, right? Because if it's age, what did they just give them a council, right? Like,
right. It would just be like a regency situation.
yeah. And he can't say the other thing.
Well, I mean, he's not supposed to.
He's gonna say it in High Valyrian, like that make it okay. Oh my God, now I'm so nervous. So what else do we see in those scenes for next week? They show him marching somewhere, Bayman.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the fuck that is. Fucking Corlys is it King's Landing? Go away. Bayman goes to King's Landing?
Trying to take his complaint.
He's like, listen, I know you said don't talk about it, but
You said don't talk about it.
he's like, he's gonna go speak to the manager and get himself killed. Okay. So Nico, stop. No.
I could be wrong about where he is, but
That's where I look. I don't want I'm just trying to go from memory.
something to some manager.
Yeah. He's like marching through the gates of someplace. But then we see, I almost said Corlys, but it's Otto sitting on the Iron Throne.
Yes. Speaking with the voice of the king.
Yes. And all matters.
Yeah.
And I really feel like he's going to die by the end of the episode. Not Otto, the king.
The king.
Because it feels like he's on his deathbed and he's clearly so ill that Otto needs to like speak for him. And Rhaenyra says something in the voiceover like, I think it's her. Tomorrow the High Towers are going to make their strike their first blow. And I just thought that was, or the Greens or something. And I just thought that was interesting because I don't know. I just want to know what that means.
Right.
Like something that you know is coming and they do it anyway, like that type of thing. I'm curious.
Right. I am curious as to what they mean by that. Because they do go to, he says, then let's go to King's Landing.
Yes.
And you see them all having dinner together, the kids at least, and one of them gets in a fight with Aemond.
Yeah, I saw that. Yes.
And I'm not sure which of the boys it was, but...
And I was just annoyed because it looked like there was, again, the blacks taking an L.
Right. Did you see the new, like, the grown kids, the older kids?
I've only seen Aemond. I've not seen... Like, I've seen them in the flash in the scene, but Aemond is one that I've actually seen, like, a photo of.
Right. And I like him. I like the aged up Aemond because I think he looks completely terrifying.
He does,
and
yes.
I think that is great casting.
Yeah.
But the Aegon casting, I don't understand.
It's bad.
He looks younger than Ty Tennant. I don't understand what's happening. Like, when I saw that, I thought that this was the fourth missing child.
Oh, right.
Right. I thought this was Darren, who is supposed to be the fourth kid that I guess they've just written out of the show. But it's Aegon, and he's shorter than Aemond, even though he was a super tall, lanky guy. And
Yeah.
he looked like I just don't know about that casting. I thought that was weird. They've been making good casting jumps each time, and I don't know about that one.
I agree. I'm actually, I see a photo now, and
That's
yeah.
kind of weird.
Yeah, it's not. They went backwards.
Yeah, they don't look anything like each other.
It's like they cast him without seeing David Tennant's son.
Right.
They're like, oh, this will have this close enough. I'm sure he'll look something like this.
Right. Like, why is Aegon 6 feet tall,
So
but
weird.
Aegon at 18 is now 5'6"? I don't understand what's happening.
It's weird. Yeah. And the other thing, I feel like there was one. Rhaenyra says this is a trap.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's a trap? Like, I want to know what that's about. But that's it. That's all we got this week. I don't know why my dog's being a dick. Oh my God. Anyway, once again, thank you guys for listening. Of course, Sarah and I will be back next week to talk about episode 8. 8 already. 8.
Crazy.
Time jump. I've heard it's about 9 years.
Yeah.
I'm most interested in seeing what these kids are like.
Yes.
Especially Rhaenyra's kids. And of course, Bela and Rhaena. I'm so curious to see. I hope they're little badasses. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yes.
So anyway, thank you guys for listening, and we will talk to you next time.